Shark? Are you out of your mind? Why are there sharks on the ground? Nick Fury yanked the back of the yelling agent's head. I have been an agent for so many years, can I not make a fuss when encountering something? I've even seen Skull Island and saw a shark. Mommy fuck, this shark actually has feet. The agent sitting on the seat looked resentfully at Nick Fury above his head. He didn't lie. Negative emotions from Magenta +2 +2 +2 +2. New York, Brooklyn streets. On the ground, a fish fin is swimming underground. The cars that blocked him along the way, as well as the buildings, were directly torn apart by its exposed fins. It was like treating the earth as seawater, and where he swam, it returned to its original appearance. And the exposed fins alone are at least 3 or 4 people high. If it weren't for this agent's sharp eyes, they might not have noticed the shark fins that suddenly appeared on the ground. After all, the focus of the satellite photography was the Stark industrial area 30 kilometers away. Not Brooklyn. The shark has been wandering towards the Stark industrial area. The speed is almost the same under the soil and in the water. When it was close to a titan, it slowly surfaced. At this time, people who use satellite observation can notice its huge size. Its mouth was huge, larger than that of ordinary sharks. There were at least a dozen layers of interlaced teeth in its mouth, and the gradually exposed body length even reached more than 50 meters. And in the middle and rear part of the body, there are even 2 dinosaur-like thighs. Stepping on the ground sank several meters in an instant. This monster weighs at least tens of thousands of tons. The ground shark opened its mouth and bit the titan. Huge amounts of mouth swallowed the 7 or 8 meter titan vertically. Snapped. Under the strong bite force of the shark, the titan instantly turned into a puddle of mud. And the surrounding titans, compared to him, it's more like a group of newborn rats facing an adult cat. Carlos in the sky noticed the shark in the ground, changed direction and flew towards the shark. And a horn on the top of the ground shark's head lit up, and then burst out a dazzling blue ray. As it shakes its head, that ray of blue light swept across several 100-meter-high skyscrapers in an instant. Slicing those skyscrapers in half was as easy as a hot knife cutting through butter. Carlos used his speed to avoid falling glass and collapsing buildings from the sky. Adjusted the angle of air-to-air homing missiles. Dozens of them were fired in a row. Missiles like drones rotate in the air, automatically bypassing defenses. Then hit the shark in the ground. Boom. The missile exploded instantly on the shark. The heat that can flatten the snow mountain and melt the 1,000-year-old snow acts on the sharks in the ground. Thick smoke billowed up. Exploded a mushroom cloud of black. Blue's laser shot out from the mushroom cloud and shot towards Carlos. Carlos moved at 20 times the speed of sound to avoid the blue laser. A cloud of smoke disappeared. The subterranean shark was left intact. Explosives equivalent to 100,000 tons of TNT explosives cannot cause any damage to the monsters in front of them. This means that even if humans use bombers, they cannot be killed. Nick Fury feels more stimulated today than in years past. Sooner or later, I will die because my heart is not hard enough. Negative emotions from Nick Fury +20 +20 +20. Director Nick, the previous magic energy has been analyzed. Explain. We analyzed one of the magic chi, restored the photo, and found that the shadow wrapped inside seemed to be a shark, and its landing area was near Brooklyn. Magical energy? Is this guy born from magic energy? The slower the recovery, the stronger the strength. Are there any other recoveries? Currently, only the magic energy monitored has recovered. That means, this guy is actually the weakest of all demonic energy. But even the weakest one can easily withstand 100,000 tons of TNT explosives. If the other monsters revived, he suddenly couldn't imagine how terrifying the strength of those monsters should be. Not to mention those monsters that contain rules. We need to build a shelter and use a certain method to contain those monsters. In the sky, Carlos' eyes completely transformed into Red's fighting mode. Air-to-air homing missiles, totally ineffective. Then only more powerful weapons can be used. Connect. Around Carlos, virtual walls appeared one after another, and her pink wings emitted a blue light like a stream of data. Insert those shadow interfaces. Those things seem to be in another world. The Queen of the Sky System, also known as the Uranus System or the Uranus System. Is Carlos currently the largest arsenal? The ultimate weapon, Apollo. Carlos stretched out his hand, and a blue prism-shaped light shield appeared in front of him. While protecting herself, a thick gun barrel appeared on the top of her head. Apollo under the Uranus system can easily destroy a country, even from the Earth to space. The connection is successful, adjust the angle. Natasha Romanoff below looked at the dazzling sky, feeling inexplicably dangerous. Maybe when that is over, New York won't have any problems anymore. Although the surrounding titans were almost cleaned up, there were still sporadic titans running around, so she had to be extremely careful. Found it. Natasha Romanoff gets under King Kong and finds the blonde unconscious. Wake up. Natasha Romanoff's hand touched the woman's thigh, and suddenly found that the woman's thigh was bleeding all over the place. She quickly took off her clothes and put them under the woman. There is no other way now, although the surrounding environment is very bad, let alone a sterile environment, her life may end at any time. But only she can help this woman. Wake up, I will help you. Natasha Romanoff slapped the woman's face to wake her up. Positive emotions from Natasha Romanoff +10 +11 +12 +13. Negative emotions from Natasha Romanoff +20 +19 +18 +17. Her moods are constantly changing. As an agent these years, she has killed many people. This is her first contact with new life. Especially new life in this environment. Trust me, I will keep you safe, so just keep going, okay? Positive emotions from Natasha Romanoff +20 +21 +22 +23. While the two were talking, the vibration of the ground became more intense, as if something had broken through the cage. The woman cried out in pain, accompanied by something slipped into her hand. A hand came out from the ground. That unimaginably large hand directly grabbed the 50-meter-long ground shark, and dragged it into the crack as if holding a toy. And in the picture taken in space, in the mouth of the skeleton, a pair of blood-colored eyes lit up. Then he opened his mouth with his hands. Roar. That is Asgardian. Neither the military nor shield can sit still. With a slap, the shark in the ground was turned into a pulp. Not completely exposed, only one hand, and that hand alone is almost the same as a 50-meter-long underground shark. If it appeared on Earth, its Height Hill agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. recalls the hallucination she has seen. That little King Kong was looking at huge amounts of mountains. Fear. The gorilla seemed to have torn open the skeleton's mouth, trying to get out of the skeleton's body. The ground was raised high, Asgardian, revealing half of its head. It was a naked orangutan with extremely long hair. Deep green eyes, in stark contrast to its full body hair. It seems to be covered with dense stones and trees. From behind, it looks like a mountain. He saw the dead little King Kong. His eyes were dull. Military, combat labs. Rob looks at the huge orangutan in the picture. Squint. With such huge amounts of combat power, if used by the military. The White House should agree. Please call Secretary Ross of the White House immediately. I have important matters to report to him. Rob gave a brief report on the current situation. However, he concealed the order from the White House and the crisis caused by his bombing, but described the matter as being deliberately disturbed, which led to the accidental death of King Kong. After Ross listened to Rob's report, since he is an Asgardian, then he should help us eliminate the crises brought about by him, send people to contact him, and let him cooperate with us. I believe he, an Asgardian, will not be so irrational. Understood, sir. Wait, and before our people arrive, no force is allowed to contact him in advance. We will make the first contact. Ross not only saw the crisis this time, but also saw the secret of Skull Island. For such a powerful creature, even if it is just a potion made by extracting their genes, it is possible for them to train a powerful warrior. Not to mention, there are other secrets on Skull Island. What are those villains trying to open Skull Island for? Is it simply wanting to destroy the world? Certainly not. Still want something from Skull Island. As the first country to explore, this is obviously an opportunity to enhance its strength. It's just that he is used to being superior and looking at people with a gesture of charity. Forgot one thing. Skull Island is not a weak country that can be bullied and dare not speak. And he just blew up someone else's kid. How can others cooperate with him because of love and peace? Hang up the phone. General Rob actively sent armed transport planes, plus a whole special operations force, to make the first contact with King Kong. S.H.I.E.L.D. Trikerv Wing Building. General Rob sent another troop. Mommy fuck, this idiot, is he afraid that human beings will live too comfortably? Negative emotions from Nick Fury +1000. Nick Fury's blood pressure, which was finally lowered, rose again. This time, the blood pressure flooded into the brain in an instant. Give me General Rob. Director Nick is connected. Nick picked up the phone. unable to vent his anger. Damn fuck. This time he cursed out loudly. The previous aggrievedness was completely released at this moment. Cool. Positive emotions from Nick Fury plus 500. What exactly do you want to do? Do you think life is not exciting enough and you want something bigger? Rob comforted Nick Fury with ease. Don't worry. I have a sense of proportion this time. We are not bombing this time. We have a vision of peace and want to cooperate with him. Since he is an Asgardian, he is definitely not an evil creature, so we can cooperate with him. We can help him take back the monsters that ran to the earth. Let him perform his duties, and he can also help us suppress those threats, so that they keep coming out and doing it. It's a win-win for both parties. After Nick Fury heard it, his blood pressure soared. You just killed someone's child. Now you talk about love, peace and responsibility? Why do people cooperate with you? Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 1500. Rob said in a cold voice. This is different. People cannot be resurrected after death. I believe that he should understand our choice. Besides, we have great sincerity. This time, we won't hurt him a single bit. Nick listened to the hang-up over there. The gas intestines are about to explode. Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 5000, he doubts now. Seriously doubt it. Robert is just a ball. Rape. Every decision made will lead mankind to the abyss. Too self-righteous, too headstrong. Director, Chief, wake up. Don't faint. Bring something exciting. The other side. Lin Tian, who was observing the battlefield and adjusting the details, suddenly noticed that the negative emotions from S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury skyrocketed. There are dozens and hundreds of others, but he is an increase of 1,000 and 1,000. It even jumped to 5,000 at once. He is almost on the verge of becoming his #1 brother. Nick can't die. This is a little fat sheep. Let me see who made him so angry. Lin Tian saw Luo Bai, a middle-aged man, just with a thought. After watching his performance. Silence. 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 6 inches originally. He also wanted to create a few interesting characters to persecute Nick Fury. But unexpectedly, Nick Fury has been persecuted so badly by his own people. I'm all pissed off. It is estimated that without his intervention, Nick's lungs would be blown. Yes, it is a talent. I remember you. Rob really wasn't created by Lin Tian, but something that exists in this world. As for why such a person can become a general of the army, he can only express. Sometimes, reality is often more outrageous than creation. With the talent of Rob, let's have a little explosion. Nick Fury, let me lower your blood pressure first, and be careful not to get a cerebral thrombosis. Nick suddenly woke up. It felt like I was walking around on the death god's scythe. Mommy fuck. Whose stinky socks? Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 300. Where's Rob? New York. Live footage of New York. Several heavily armed transport planes headed towards the gorilla. The person above held a military loudspeaker and shouted towards the bottom. I'm the Chief of Naval Operations at Mei Li Jian, Admiral Rob. We love peace, and we have no intention of hostility with you. We've all lost important people in this war, but we can't go on. We need a peaceful. With the militaries shouting, even the people below felt the air freeze a lot. Which pot is not opened and which pot is lifted? Are you courting death? Oops, the director has lost his temper again. Inside the Stark building. The few people who were avoiding the Titan heard someone shouting from outside. The sound of the loudspeaker travels far. Even at a distance of several thousand meters, you can still hear clearly. Dad and Xiao Yu looked at Hawkeye. Which clever idea is this? Want to influence Donkey Kong? Are they your friends? Hawkeye quickly shook his head, vetoing it. I'm out of the military. Negative emotions from Hawkeye plus 100. At the moment, even Hawkeye was embarrassed for each other. Just killed someone else's child. Now you say you are here for peace. Peace you ***A. Negative emotions from Hawkeye plus 100. At the moment, everyone could feel the anger of the half-headed Asgardian. Rumble. The earth shook. Then the ground cracked a series of blood-colored gaps. Collapse. In an instant, the ground looked like a battlefield ravaged by Saiyans, and the land began to disintegrate on a large scale. Like a mountaintop, huge amounts of stones floated directly from the ground. And in the mouth of the gorilla, it seems that a blue ball of light has gathered. Roar. The gorilla roared angrily towards the sky. Blue's sphere of light turned into a beam of light. All the glass within 1,000 miles of him was instantly shattered. This beam of light is like opening the sky. Break through the earth and rush to the universe. Seen from outer space, this blow directly hit the Earth in the middle. White's clouds, the forks hit by his energy cannon, and the hurricane at sea were even annihilated directly. But the ground was only slightly affected by the scalding energy, forming a large deep pit tens of kilometers long and as deep as a chasm. And that blow, without any accident, vaporized those armed transport helicopters. Silence. 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 Just an angry attack. It actually caused such tragic damage. SHIELD and the military were completely shocked. Mom F*K. They thought about how terrifying the other could be. But I didn't expect it to be so terrible. This combat power completely surpasses that of Earth. As for cooperation, that's just nonsense. People don't need to cooperate at all. Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 1000. And in a manner. Professor X looked at the space gliding above the sky, just about to use his consciousness to spy on what happened. A mouthful of blood spurted out. His face paled in an instant, like an old man who was dying of illness. Professor, what's the matter with you? Wolverine looks at Professor X and takes his hand. New York, New York. Negative emotions from Charles Francis Xavier plus 2000. Wanda looked at the aurora-like sky. My heart was shaken again. What happened? Sister. Something terrible. Negative emotions from Wanda plus 500, Kamar Taj. Several mage looked at the dazzling light across the sky. There was a lot of discussion. Ancient One walked out, looking at the light in the sky. Haven't recovered yet. What kind of power is this? This kind of rule that overrides everything. You have to hurry up and recover. Encountered such a domineering rule. Ancient One can only admit cowardly first, and investigate slowly later. Strange. Let him enter the study. This magnificent scene was naturally discovered by many forces in the world. And New York, the root of everything. It's almost there. It's not time for you to appear on the stage yet, so go down first. And another Rand group in New York. A charming man with gold hair dangles a glass of red wine. Strike a flamboyant and glamorous pose. What a wonderful power. It's wonderful, it's so beautiful that I want to sing it. The man restrained his next expression and looked back. The man is holding a white mask in his hand, and there seems to be something missing on the white mask. Kneeling beside him was an old woman in a white shirt. It is Mrs. Gao, who cooperated with Jin Bing to sell drugs for the first time, and is also the boss of the Hand and Society. But the Hand and meeting were changed hands in just a few minutes. Mrs. Gao couldn't understand the horror of the man in front of her at all. The other party is almost like a ghost. In just a few seconds after walking in from the outside, all the men turned into vampires. And the ninja she asked for help was turned into one weight after another by one person. Then she saw the fighting break out in uptown New York. Especially the last beam. Light up the whole of New York. From Dio's casual leaks, she seems to know what Dio wants to do. I want to get something, make up for his flaws, and then complete the final evolution. It seems that once he completes the evolution, he will be able to exert the power he had just now. That's why he is so excited. Master Dio, I'm back. Mrs. Gao, who was kneeling on the ground, heard someone walk in behind her. The heart trembled suddenly. This time, it felt even more different to her. If those transformed vampires want to suck her blood, then the voice behind it seems to be able to suck her soul. Everyone around Dio gave her an unimaginable pressure. Negative emotions from Mrs. Gao plus 100 plus 102 plus 103. A real person. Dio turned his face sideways, and from the corner of his eye, he looked at the real person behind who was being supported by Hannah Yu back. Speechless, cool, silence, Dio's silent. The temperature in the entire room dropped to freezing point in an instant. Even those vampires transformed by Dio dare not make the slightest sound, for fear of being heard by Dio. At this moment, it seems that breathing has become a sin. It's oppressive. A strong sense of oppression from the king of villains. Mrs. Gao felt her throat was blocked. Fear from Mrs. Gao plus 150 plus 170 plus. Chi. Dio appeared in front of the real person in an instant, and put his hand on the real person's face. I hope there will be no next time, understand? Drops of sweat dripped down the real person's face. I see. Skull Island appears. I need you to help me get the Azzy Red Stone. Hearing that Dio gave him a new mission, Masato breathed a sigh of relief. At least he won't die this time. Even Madame Gao breathed a sigh of relief. Under the influence of Dio's personal charm. There are not many people who are willing to follow and treat it like a god. Moreover, there are quite a few people who have been rewarded with abilities by him and can kill real people. And they are all rule abilities. The real person casually glanced at the short mother-in-law and the two brothers who were gambling. Everyone has the power of the rule, especially Dio. No one knows what his strength is, but they all showed him absolute respect. The eyes of the world are on New York. Curious what the hell is going on in New York. And Rob is being yelled at by the Secretary of State on the phone. Let you get in touch with the other party, and look at what you've done. The White House phone, the president's phone, is about to explode. Now you are fully responsible for this matter, and what happens is your responsibility. It's over. The black pot cannot be thrown away. Done. Negative emotions from Rob +3, negative emotions from Ross +200. Inside the Stark Industrial Building, Tony is obsessed with rescuing Pepper. He also heard the shouts and roars from the outside world. It's just that he doesn't have time to pay attention to those guys now. The roar of the Asgardian King Kong not only shattered the glass. He also slammed him directly into the wall. Almost broke his guts. Mom F*K. Feel the wetness of the inner thighs again. He knew that the wound on his buttocks had burst open again. Negative emotions from Tony Stark +300. Uncle Long was bumped, his eyes were squeezed and turned into cross-eyed. Stand up and take a few steps. It feels like the whole world is shaking. Uncle Long quickly patted his temple hard. Clap. After shaking it a few times, Uncle Long's eyes recovered. Hurry up. We have to save people quickly. Wait a little longer, the building will collapse. At this moment, Tony was extremely fortunate, thankful that the construction team he had found was reliable enough. Otherwise, after several consecutive earthquakes, the Stark building would have collapsed long ago. Tony struggled to get up from the ground, push away the office on the last floor and return to the innermost floor. It was a mess on the outside, but it was still clean inside. This is the damper he set with the foresight at the beginning. Able to cushion earthquakes. Guaranteed smooth. Tony opened the door of the room and pushed it open, and Pepper was standing inside, a little overwhelmed. See Tony's feet bleeding. Pepper hurried forward, then covered her mouth. Tony. Oh my God, you're hurt. Pepper looked at the blood on Tony's body, and then at Uncle Long. I don't know, I didn't do it. After seeing Pepper, Tony's last consciousness finally couldn't hold on, and he fell softly in Pepper's arms. Pepper was completely out of ideas. The panicked negative emotions from Pepper +40. Replace him with an energy source first, he has no electricity now. Yeah. Pepper tried to keep calm, and under the reminder of Uncle Long, he helped Tony, who was seriously injured in the buttocks and lost too much blood, replace the energy in his body. Jarvis, replace the energy source. Fortunately, Pepper was a Boy Scout and participated in training when he was a child. Know some first aid knowledge. Hold on to Tony for now. The outside world, under the body of little King Kong. With the unremitting efforts of Natasha Romanoff, a new life was born in her hands. In her hand came the first cry, sound. Natasha Romanoff quickly took off a vest and wrapped it around the baby. Pass it to the blonde in front of you. And the body of the little King Kong on top of the head slid in one direction, and Natasha Romanoff quickly used his body to protect the two people below him. Wait until little King Kong's stomach, chest, and head leave above them. The two were exposed to the outside world. It's daybreak? Natasha Romanoff looked at the sky around her, and she slowly raised her head while protecting the woman under her. I saw the figure that completely covered the sun, and the Asgardian who was surrounded by a faint gold light. She stood up slowly. It was like King Kong and the blonde looking at each other back then. Make eye contact with each other. Then, the ground rumbled and shook. A huge amounts of heads trying to get out. But in the next second, Donkey Kong let out a roar, raised his fist and smashed down on that head. Hum. A punch hit the huge amounts of monster, setting off an airwave of tens of kilometers. The center is more like a sandstorm. Little King Kong's body was dragged away by Asgardian. Even the monster was pushed to the ground together. There was a rumbling sound on the ground, and occasionally several terrifying rays came from the gaps, tearing apart skyscrapers in an instant. When Natasha Romanoff met the other's eyes, she seemed to understand what he meant. Second floor. Greedy Wolf saw Asgardian sinking. Asgardian is leaving. Po Jun breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this is a good thing, and it escaped a catastrophe. The old man looked at Po Jun. A good thing? This is not a good thing. The old man picked up the dried pufferfish. Originally we could ask Asgardian to help us take back the magic energy, but now it seems that, let alone taking it back, even if someone wants to step into Skull Island, there is no chance. Everyone, it's best to pray that those demonic auras don't contain those existences that only Asgardians can deal with. Po Jun rubbed his head. Then what Dad means is, it seems that I can only rely on myself. Tanlang patted his chest. Father, don't be so discouraged. Didn't you say that there will be sleeping beings that automatically balance the power of both sides? The premise of balance is that they have to show up. The old man sighed. It took so long for the war to show up a revived hero, which means that not everyone is willing to fight. The old man looked out, and the ice Carlos in the sky disappeared. Come on. Maybe the only one is gone now. As soon as Dad's voice fell, Hawkeye fell into deep thought. Dad sees far away. That's why I worry about the future. And Hawkeye followed Dad's thinking, and also worried about the future. How mighty is that ground shark? Even tens of tons of explosives could not injure him. This is the first one to recover. What about the others? How powerful will those monsters be? Even if someone comes forward, help them in the most critical time and balance their disaster. But can they really count on the help of others? Dad also said that those people may not be willing to stand up and save the Earth. They may be left alone. Negative emotions from Hawkeye +5 +5 +5 +5. Fighting would be Deadman's after all. Fighting isn't playing a game. Although the cracks in the ground were not closed, the light in the cracks was much dimmed, as if the power of Skull Island had dissipated in New York. The ground stopped shaking. In the east, the sun is slowly rising. It was as if a new life had been ushered in. In New York, except for the smoke of war, and some surviving small titans are still being destroyed. It seems that at this moment, New York can be considered to have reached peace. But Natasha Romanoff et al. No. The real war has just begun. Asgardian, King Kong disappears. After waiting for a long time, the sun has begun to rise. There was no movement in front of Stark's mansion for a long time. There were no earthquakes either. No screaming either. Like after the storm, it returned to calm again. Gazing at such a quiet picture, many people do not understand. Will that thing come back? An agent in S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to ask others, but also seems to answer himself. Will you come back? No one can tell, and no one can guarantee. After all, his own children died at the hands of humans. Is it possible not to retaliate? But if it really takes revenge on humans, can humans stop it? The shot that was spit out directly combed the earth in the middle. If he came out from there, he might tear the whole earth into pieces. More than half an hour, the scene was quiet. It was as silent as if the whole city had died. Only the surviving titans were constantly looking for food in the ruins. The military can naturally see the tragic situation in New York. In this operation, the military lost the most people. Almost, few of the people sent out could come back alive. All were treated as cannon fodder. Enter now, there should be no problem. Although the underground shark and King Kong have disappeared. But there's still a titan wreaking havoc inside. The army needs to clean up the remaining monsters. General Rob, Director Nick of S.H.I.E.L.D., come in. Rob takes Nick's call. I'm sending people into New York City. Rob could feel the resentment from Nick's side. Don't get excited. There are still titans in the city. Maybe there are other monsters that need to be cleaned up. Didn't you say that New York City still has magic energy? When Rob said this, Nick suddenly became nervous. What do you want to do? Negative emotions from Nick Fury +500. What do I want to do? The city was destroyed. Such a big thing must not be hidden. The most important thing now is to save the living. Listening to Rob's words, Nick always felt something strange. For the first time, saving the city and blowing up King Kong, the city was almost destroyed. The second time, to save the city and talk about cooperation, the Earth was almost destroyed. The third time, this time, he's going to save the planet again. Wait. Your people don't move. Wait for our people to arrive. Nick Fury was scared. This guy must never be allowed to act alone. At least give him an assistant. Otherwise, maybe he unknowingly pressed the button of the end of the world. Nick hung up the phone and looked at Agent Hill. Tell me, is there a possibility that General Rob is a rule, or another evil spirit? Hill agent felt that Director Nick's head was a little abnormal due to the blood pressure. Now everyone looks like a demon, and everyone looks like a rule. Definitely, it's not impossible to rule it out. After all, what General Rob did was really not a human thing. The sun gradually rises. The team led by Falcon is still in a stalemate with the Peanuts. If the enemy does not move, I will not move. After some hard work, they finally figured out the pattern of this peanut man. This guy though is fast and indestructible, but there are also weaknesses. That is, you can only do it to one person at a time. As long as they don't panic, their eyes should be fixed on each other. With special action rules, it's not too difficult to solve these things as long as you find the knack. Target found. Foundation, Team B, Fire Phoenix Team, take action. Just when Falcon was thinking about what to do next, it seemed that his channel signal received a combat signal that did not belong to their command center. Human soldiers found around the target, authorized to execute target amnestics. What? What amnestics? Who is speaking? Hearing this, Falcon quickly flew into the air vigilantly, looking around. He was also flying with War Machine. Apparently the War Machine heard those people too. Falcon flew into the air and saw a black force suddenly appear on the ground. A black force that resembled an armed force quickly surrounded him, but they dropped a spray first, and the billowing mist soon covered his entire force. They act efficiently and decisively. The style of acting is sharper than that of special combat troops. This made Falcon frown quickly. What do you mean by containment? How do you feel that they are familiar with these things? Who are these people? What are they going to do? General Rob, General Rob. Falcon found it impossible to contact Combat Command. You can only hide and observe first. If the opponent wants to attack their team, he can also sneak attack and counterattack the opponent. Falcon speculates that it may be signal interference, causing his own signal to be connected to the other party's channel in series, so he can hear the other party's voice. While Falcon and War Machine are hiding, they found out that the people who appeared out of nowhere didn't harm the soldiers, they just knocked them unconscious, which should be what they call amnestics. Immediately after that, a group of 3 slowly approached the Peanut Man. Unexpectedly, the monster was like a clay sculpture, motionless during the whole process. 3 people completed the task that so many of them could complete. The target has been contained and is waiting to be transferred. Authorize redeployment of amnestics. This team moved very quickly, from grabbing the containment to disappearing in less than a minute. After the smoke below disappeared, the 2 slowly landed on the ground, watching each other's disappearing figure. They didn't stop, because their teammates were stunned by some kind of stun potion. So they can't shoot at each other indiscriminately, fearing that the other party will jump over the wall in a hurry. However, the other party mentioned the Foundation? What is that? And containment. It seems they know these rule creatures well, so contain these things. After they left, his signal also came back. Reconnected with General Rob. General Rob, we've encountered a special operations force called the Foundation. Foundation? Rob frowned instantly. He had never heard of this organization. Besides, this is a battlefield, and their satellites are monitoring it in real time. If there is a troop breaking in, it is impossible for them not to know. Negative emotions from Rob plus 200. It seems that because of the appearance of Skull Island, all kinds of monsters and ghosts have been attracted. Don't know what's next. Third force, enter New York, clear those titans, beware of rule creatures. Titan is not the most dangerous, rule creatures are the most dangerous. Before all the rule creatures are cleared, this place will become a restricted area for humans. Where King Kong disappeared, Natasha Romanoff looked at the blonde with the baby in her arms. Silence. When other people are near, also notice the child in the woman's arms. The girl in the red dress is not holding a human being, but a newly born orangutan. This absurd scene made the scalps of those who rushed over go numb. Although Hawkeye is single on the surface, in fact, he has a happy family. But now seeing the girl in front of her holding a baby that is not human, I still feel a little incomprehensible. From negative emotions plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. From negative emotions plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. From negative emotions plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. After all, few people can accept this kind of picture. Under Pepper's care, the Iron Man upstairs recovered a bit, and took advantage of Titan's absence below to go downstairs with Uncle Long. Downstairs, of course, I also saw the blonde girl. The original Tony was very hostile to King Kong. After all, this little King Kong ruined his party and destroyed his building. It even made New York like this. But thinking that he did such a crazy move for a beloved person, it doesn't seem so hateful, just like himself. If Pepper is caught by a real person, he may be as crazy as the other person. There is nothing to forgive and not forgive. it's just that everyone stands in a different position. Tony walked up to the blonde and noticed the child in her arms. Although that was different from human beings, he felt warm. Positive emotions from Tony Stark plus 1500, this is their crystallization. Positive emotions from Pepper plus 500, we will help you raise him up. I haven't asked your name yet. The blonde woman raised her head, revealing Blue's eyes. My name is Belle. And what's his name, Belle? Caesar, his name is Caesar. Natasha Romanoff stepped aside, called the others over, and said to the others, perhaps it is really a lucky thing that King Kong's child is still alive. What's so lucky about that? Natasha Romanoff shook her head. Don't forget, Asgardian didn't attack the Earth. I tried it with him and saw its determination to destroy the world, but we didn't do it in the end. Hawkeye said quickly, you mean, little King Kong? Seeing other people looking at him with strange eyes, he quickly said, I know his name is Caesar, but isn't little King Kong more suitable? Well, pretend I didn't say it. Hawkeye had a rare moment of humor, but found that no one understood his humor at all. It's so difficult. Xiao Yu quickly said, so raising Xiao Xiaojin. Bah, raising Caesar is also an opportunity for us. Negative emotions from Hawkeye plus 100, that's right. Natasha Romanoff's words immediately cheered up everyone else. That's right, little King Kong is gone. But little Caesar is still alive. If little Caesar could be willing to help humanity, then Asgardian will eventually choose to help mankind solve the crisis that human beings cannot solve. Because little Caesar lives in human society, then it is impossible for Asgardian to let the crisis go. That's why the Asgardians didn't break through the ground and crash into Earth in the end. In the final scene, they had seen the Asgardian push back the head of a monster. In comparison, there must have been a lot of monsters running out of Skull Island at that time, even trying to get out of the cracks in the ground. But in order not to let them run out, Asgardian returned to Skull Island to fight those monsters, and blocked the way to leave Skull Island. After figuring this out, positive emotions from Natasha Romanoff plus 2000. Positive emotions from Hawkeye plus 2000. Positive emotions from George Stacy plus 250. Positive emotions from Police Officer A plus 2, from. So, the Asgardians haven't forgotten about Earth, nor left everything alone. In fact, on the contrary, it was he who solved the greater crisis that mankind was about to face and suppressed those monsters. Otherwise, the moment those monsters tore open the prison, they would be able to destroy the entire world. But what humans are facing now is just those devilish chi. Hawkeye explained what he understood. Find the next way to go. The old man looked at other people looking at him, coughed. You are right. After everyone understands this, the burdens on each of them will become clear. First things first, take care of little Caesar. Negative emotions from Hawkeye plus 50, and the second thing is to deal with the descending demon energy. Actually, the task of taking care of little Caesar, I believe it is not difficult for everyone. Definitely not simple either. Everyone, don't forget that the forces behind the Skull Island have always wanted to open it. They have not disappeared. This time, they have not failed in their mission. Now that the Skull Island is half open, they have a way to get in. Therefore, I will definitely try my best to return to this place and re-enter the interior of Skull Island. The best way for them to enter Skull Island safely is to use little Caesar as a threat and ask Asgardian to open a passage for them. After all, they lured little King Kong to leave Skull Island. Asgardian must remember their smell. Definitely there are other ways to smuggle people, but there are definitely other threats. In short, the crisis has not been resolved, and Caesar is still very important. After the others listened to what the old man said, I understand the importance of little Caesar even more. The little Caesar now, to put it seriously, is the last hope of the Earth. Looking at little Caesar in Belle's arms, much cuter than before. And the soldiers sent by Rob's army rushed towards Stark Industries. Falcon and War Machine will flight. So relying on the advantages of flight, they rushed to Tony and others one step ahead of schedule. Falcon glanced twice. Didn't see Steve. Where's Steve? Did any of you see Steve? Falcon and Steve are good friends. Their relationship is like Iron Man and War Machine. Several people heard Falcon calling Steve. I suddenly remembered. Steve's sea urchin, which had turned into a spell, hadn't recovered yet. At that time, when Tanlang gained the power of a real person, the time was only 10 minutes. After recovering King Kong, he fought with real people so fast that the last time was only enough to recover Belle and little Caesar. But he didn't notice that there was another Steve beside him. Not to mention anyone else, even Hawkeye forgot he marked Steve with an arrow. He didn't remember until Falcon shouted. At the moment they noticed. A battered sea urchin was hiding in a corner, slowly healing. The magic spirit's near undead ability allows him to recover no matter how badly he is injured. And Steve, who was twisted into a sea urchin, has been bombarded after losing his mind. Only when it was broken into slag was it remembered. Chrysalis, chrysalis, chrysalis. Swallow a little to heal the wound. Instinct drove him towards the corpse. However, Steve, who wanted to devour the corpse to recover from his injuries, was grabbed from behind. Catch him. The idea is a bit hard, it's tricky. The military's cleanup force arrived. For ancient humans, those titans may be an irresistible crisis of extinction. But for the mechanized, automated and informatized armed forces, it is not enough at all. Those titans, they don't have the hard skin of the shark monsters of the earth. There is no ability to restore ability like a real person. So in the face of machine gun fire and artillery bombardment, can only be beaten passively. As a result, scenes of Titan being chased by the army can be seen everywhere. At this moment, it seemed that luck finally belonged to the human side came. Let mankind fight a happy battle. Positive emotions from +3. Positive emotions from +2. Positive emotions from Rob +55. Positive sentiment on the military side was surging. Before facing all kinds of outrageous monsters to the sky, he was completely helpless when he was beaten by the opponent. Now they finally encountered a monster they could beat. That's a rave party. Da da da. Boom boom boom. Blow it up. Along the way, Rob's army was unimpeded. Positive sentiment also rises with all boats. Although a person has very few positive emotions. But the number has increased, which is also very impressive. The correct harvesting method can't just focus on these superheroes, these common people are also harvesting points, especially if the number is large. That's impressive. The man on the second floor muttered to himself. Downstairs, a pink-haired man in casual decoration passed by, holding a bag of watermelon seeds in his arms. Rob's army. After advancing for dozens of miles, I haven't encountered a monster that is more difficult to deal with. But Rob at the moment has always been careful. In order to prevent him from messing around, S.H.I.E.L.D. told him an important message. Today's battlefield is not safe. There is another crisis on the battlefield that has not erupted for the time being, but it may erupt at any time. And the longer the delay, the more terrifying the crisis. So Rob ordered his lieutenants to rush to the battlefield, focusing on cleaning up the lives that might mutate first. As for monsters that cannot be killed, they can only be detained temporarily. Definitely the most important thing is to find out the events that may trigger the crisis. In order to avoid the outbreak of the crisis, he ordered the lieutenant to clean up those abnormal units in advance without reporting to him. As for what S.H.I.E.L.D. said, they will act when they come. Rob just ignored it. After all, the first closest unit of S.H.I.E.L.D. was wiped out. It is estimated that it will not be until the next day when the second force arrives at the scene. Now the military won't wait that long. Along the way, tanks, armed transport vehicles, passed by Tony and others. Many people looked at the baby in Belle's arms with strange eyes. Hawkeye took off his jacket tenderly and covered Caesar. This prevents some people from snooping. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. The lieutenant saluted several people. Then he raised his gun and pointed at the sea urchin that was bound and grinning behind Tony. Looks like you need help. The lieutenant looked towards the iron cage behind him, where two cursed spirits were being imprisoned. The two cursed spirits bit each other like hyenas, and the soldier in the car scalded the body of the cursed spirit with a cigarette butt. Tony waved his hand. No, 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 this is my friend. The other party just smiled and teased. I hope that when he eats you, he can think of you as his friend. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to leave, Natasha Romanoff stepped forward and said, "We belong to S.H.I.E.L.D. Regarding him, we will have a solution, and we don't need your help. Let them go." The lieutenant seemed to hear a message from above in his earphones, and replied, "Yes, sir." Finally, he sneered at several people. They have all become monsters, and they are reluctant to kill them. Although the lieutenant's attitude made people feel dissatisfied. But now few people have no strength. They don't want to fight another battle with the army in front of them. That doesn't make sense. Just as the lieutenant left, Rob noticed the child in the arms of the blonde woman through the switched shots in the laboratory. Sensitive as a general, he immediately felt the importance of that thing. Because of the positions of these people. Take a position that protects the opponent behind you. Wait. Switch back to the third action group, the scene 10 seconds ago, and play it again. In the camera, he saw the sea urchin behind Tony, a rich man in New York, and also noticed the blonde woman who was deliberately protected behind him. Strangeness. Why are these people protecting that woman? And the people of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It was clear to Rob that S.H.I.E.L.D. hadn't told them all their secrets. After all, the military and S.H.I.E.L.D. are just a partnership. It is far from intimacy, let alone intimate friendship. If the military finds something that will improve the military's strength, it will definitely not tell S.H.I.E.L.D. The same goes for S.H.I.E.L.D. The third action group, don't leave for now, check what the woman in the red dress is holding. There are so many people, all in a secretive way. There must be something wrong. The lieutenant, who was about to leave, returned again, this time directly picking up the gun and aiming at Tony. Tony's heart skipped a beat as he watched the lieutenant go back and forth. When he saw the opponent's movement of raising the gun, he became even more nervous. Know that Pepper is still behind him. Once you fight. Gentlemen and ladies, for the sake of safety, I think I still need to check what the lady is carrying. See the lieutenant aiming his gun at the girl behind him. The armor on Tony's face snapped shut. He raised his finger to the lieutenant. A bright red light appeared in the palm of his hand. Sorry, you don't need it. Hawkeye also took out his arrows and drew his full bow. Natasha Romanoff, Daddy, Uncle Long, Tanlang, and Pojun also put on a posture, ready to attack. And their posture of readiness makes the military even more convinced that they must be hiding something. The lieutenant's voice was much duller. Gentlemen and ladies, one warning, for the sake of safety, I need to check what that lady is carrying. I said you don't need it. Tony and the others really didn't want to fight the military. But it's impossible for them to hand over Little Caesar to the military. Although they don't know how the military will react when they see Little Caesar. Will realize the importance of Little Caesar. Will it be snatched? But they couldn't risk handing over young Caesar to a power that had killed his father. Negative emotions from Natasha Romanoff plus 150. From Tony Stark. Stop. I'll show you. As Bell spoke, he lifted off the clothes that had been changed on Caesar's body. Show that face of Caesar. The lieutenant immediately showed disgust on his face. And Rob also frowned. It's just an orangutan, gorilla. Although I don't know what connection the orangutan in the woman's arms has with those gorillas. But he instinctively felt that the orangutan was important. The chimpanzee stays, the others can leave. The lieutenant said in the words of General Rob, the chimpanzee stays, and the others can go. Did they know the secret of Little King Kong? Tony raised his other hand, aiming both at the army. Mr. Soldiers, we are not enemies. We don't want to have a war with you. Just at this extremely tense moment, there was a burst of intense gunfire from the lieutenant's intercom. ZZ. Then there was a cry for help. Support, request support. Repeat one side. Ask for support. Block 30, the lobby on the first floor of Ward Building A of the hospital. Need support, repeat again. Ah. The lieutenant's face turned cold instantly. He naturally heard the voice on the intercom. And Block 30 was the closest to his team. What happened? Team 7, please answer. The lieutenant didn't take his eyes off Bell's body, but he answered the call for support as he switched on the intercom. Dead silence. 7th team, please answer. Dead silence. Could it be dead? Suddenly a terrible thought popped into the lieutenant's mind. They saw the Titan thrown away by them. This seemed to make them forget how dangerous the city was. Titan is just one of the weak creatures, after a long time. A voice that sounded like a madman came over the intercom. I'm a doctor, so what if I instill the patient? What about the patient? Ah, all my patients are here, he. Listening to the crazy laughter on the other side, from deep to excited, then to crazy. And then there were shots of gunshots and screams again. The lieutenant suddenly felt his scalp go numb. What happened to that squad? Such a terrifying scream actually happened. The ones behind should be the support team. Damn it. Negative emotions from plus 10. Negative emotions from plus 10. Negative emotions from plus 10. In a hospital. A tall, purple man was standing in the corridor. He was wearing a white coat with a series of Mundo letters written upside down on his chest. Turning around, facing the soldiers behind him, a fat blue tongue flicked around in his mouth, accompanied by a weird laugh. Hey. His mouth was constantly drooling. In his hand, he tightly held a surgical saw blade. All the soldiers around died in a disgusting way. Even if the butcher walked in, he would vomit because of the horror around him. Only the rookie soldier who just heard the scream and came to support him. A person is still alive. At the moment's rookie soldier, his calf was trembling, his legs seemed to be filled with lead, and they were so heavy that he couldn't lift them. The rookie soldier gritted his teeth. Damn it, get away from me, monster. Hey. F*K, F*K, F*K. Negative emotional fear from, +20. Fac. Da. The soldiers shouted and fired the bullets in their hands. But those bullets only briefly repelled Mundo in front of him. For Mundo, these injuries make no difference. Mondo looked down at the wounds on his body that healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then he looked at the soldier in front of him with weird eyes. Then he uttered another sentence with a maniacal laugh. You are sick and need to be cured. Immediately afterwards, Mundo threw himself on the rookie soldier. Like an anatomy, Mundo sawed off the rookie soldier in front of him one by one, put back the internal organs that he thought were wrongly placed, and spliced them indiscriminately, trying to save the sick patient. After just a few minutes, the rookie soldier has no human form at all, and even the corpse can't tell what it is. Mundo looked at the motionless corpse and stood up regretfully. As a professional doctor, he was very sad. I'm sorry. Dr. Mundo has tried his best, but there are always accidents in surgery. Mundo grabbed the wreckage and shook off the soldier's tattered body. Then regain your smile and confidence, because although this operation failed, but it doesn't matter, there are still many patients outside waiting for his treatment. This is really a good place for medical research, everyone here is sick. Mundo slammed the door open. Looking at a large group of patients outside, the smile on his face became more and more crazy. I'm here to treat you. Shooting. After entering the central area, the soldiers' cleanup plans were hampered. It can even be said to be difficult, except for a soldier who was chased by Mundo. There was another army that lost all its blood and turned into mummified corpses. There is even a team that was swallowed by huge amounts of human-faced centipede while chasing and killing the Titan. The closer to the center, the more dangerous. It's the Titans. There are colossal Titans near the center that can't be dealt with by artillery fire for the time being. Common guns and bullets are useless against those Titans. After a minute of stalemate between Tony and the original army, the group of soldiers had to set off to the battlefield to support the front line. Seeing that the battlefield was once again in crisis, Tony saw that they were not equipped enough, so they could only retreat temporarily and make plans. Fortunately, the military can hold on for a while now. But the forces behind the real person will definitely act again. I just don't know when the forces behind it will make a move. Father, what should we do next? Well, next, Dad will go back to Dad's antique shop to make some items that seal the magic power, super-level spell spirits, which are definitely impossible to kill with your ability, so the best way is to use magic to defeat them. Magic. Greedy Wolf said to Po Jun. Po Jun, don't go back to the VV Academy for now, the curse seeds on your body need to be cleared for you, and those curse seeds continue to absorb your power, you should not be able to hold on now. Chisa, I have insisted on not, snapped. Po Jun's body suddenly shrank, transformed into a little baby in a loincloth. Tanlang couldn't help scratching his head when he saw that Po Jun had turned into a child again due to excessive use of his ability. Explain to everyone. Sorry, because the abilities we developed have some side effects, Mr. Po Jun has contributed too much this time, please help take care of him. Natasha Romanoff nodded, and picked Po Jun up. Okay, leave it to me. As it happens, Natasha Romanoff just helped Belle deliver a baby and is now in love. Sister, hungry, rice. Negative emotions from Natasha Romanoff +100. From Natasha Romanoff. From. Tanlang grabbed Po Jun's ear. Don't be fooled by him, he just looks smaller. Po Jun cursed. Stinky boy, you are just envious. Negative emotions from Natasha Romanoff +500. Hell's Kitchen. A fierce man was using an iron fist to severely teach the subordinate who betrayed him. The muscles like iron lumps all over his body have reached the extreme of human beings, reaching an incredible level. Riots broke out in uptown New York yesterday. Almost destroyed everything he had worked so hard to build. As for the goods he traded with Mrs. Gao yesterday, he has not received the final payment until today, and even Mrs. Gao cannot be contacted. So he caught the trade partner, Mrs. Gao's younger brother Brand. He seriously suspected that this little brother had embezzled his goods. Boss, please forgive me, I didn't take it for myself. Ah. He grabbed Brand's head with his iron hands, and with both hands, Brand's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, Blood pressure surged, and White's eyeballs turned blood red. Jin Bin shouted again in a deep voice. Where are my goods? Where is Mrs. Gao? In the dim warehouse, a lamp flickered overhead. Almost all the teeth on Brand's face were smashed. Mouth full of blood, the mouth is numb. The veins on the top of his head popped out. It seemed as if his head would explode in the next second. Jin Bin. There's no need to be so cruel to my people. Just at the moment, a woman's voice came from outside the door. Hearing the sound, Jin threw it away, and Brand was thrown on the shelf in the factory like garbage. Bang. The weight on the shelves slammed down on Brand, squeezing his last breath from his lungs, squeezing them dry. Mrs. Gao. I thought you were going to hide. Where are my goods? Jin Bin is the most powerful guy in the New York gang. No one dares to swallow his goods and can live such a nourishing life, not even Mrs. Gao. Mrs. Gao is wearing white suit, with white silk gloves on her hand, and a scepter in her hand, but it is also his weapon. Hiding? Madame Gao had a smile on her face. Jin Bin. Do I need to hide from you? And this time I came with a mission. The Lord needs me to unify the underground gangs in New York, so as an old friend, I found you, so don't be too thankful. Jin Bin clenched his fists instantly. Jin Bin. A mob boss conquering New York's underworld with his fists. Someone actually wanted to conquer him. Isn't this a big joke? You're joking. I don't like it. Madame Gao tapped the ground with a scepter. For a moment. In the dark of the factory building, several ghostly figures emerged. The ninjas around him just wanted to take precautions. In the next second, several wounds appeared on those people's bodies. Blood gushes like a fountain, gushing out. Some people even had their throats cut on the spot. Why so fast? It is impossible for a normal person to have such a fast speed. Jin Bin's expression tensed up. Look around. Listen to all directions. The moment a black shadow flew towards him in the air. Jin Bin punched out. This fist can punch through the iron plate and hit the opponent's body, but it just knocks the opponent back heavily, without the feeling of piercing through the flesh. Such a solid body. The black shadow flew out backwards. Cough. Coughing up a blood clot. Then he raised his whip leg, and without time to recover, he swept it behind him. Like a cannonball fired. With a swift speed, the black shadow behind him was swept away by more than 10 meters. And this time, his men, except for Vulture, were wiped out. All lay on the ground. Vulture, right? Vulture felt hairs on his back, as if a pair of red eyes were staring at him in the dark, looking at him like a cat and a mouse. Snapped. Kim threw his fist again. Years of fighting skills have allowed him to fight against superheroes, so he is naturally not afraid of these annoying vampires. Bomb. A yellow thing in the air hit Jin Bin. Jin Bin immediately felt that this thing seemed to be corroding himself, but he didn't have time to check it out, because those people whose ribs and sternum were broken by him stood up again. Even those who were killed by the black shadow stood up staggeringly, and when they looked at him, they showed cruel, red eyes and crazy smiles. Negative emotions from Faith Grams +15. Jin Bing's heart has been trained to be extremely strong. But at this moment, he couldn't suppress the hair in his heart. What the hell is this? Vampire. And Jin looked at the yellow liquid stuck to his hand, like a mass of slime that was constantly corroding his fingers. Negative emotion from Faith Gram +30. Madame Gao, this guy. Jin Bing wanted to quit at this moment. I want to leave for a while to avoid the edge. But the surrounding vampires blocked his way. Let him have no chance to escape. Jin Bing took out the lighter and wanted to burn the things in his hands, but the moment he encountered the fire, the slime that was originally only a little doubled in size in an instant, and it was about to cover the entire palm of his hand. And the sudden stabbing pain made him feel like his arm was about to disappear. What the hell is this? Negative emotions from Faith Grams +100. Will the fire get bigger and bigger? Do you have to use ice cubes? Behind Mrs. Gao stood a handsome man. He has black fluffy long hair, gold shining pupils. It also has slender eyebrows, well proportioned and strong muscles. It's just that there is a cherry in his mouth, dancing on his flexible tongue, making people look at him and want to beat him madly. How is it, Jin Bin? Have you seen the power of the people behind me? This is just one of the adult's subordinates. Mrs. Gao looked at Jin Bin, whose arms were wrapped in yellow restraint. As long as you assist that Lord and complete the mission, the Lord can give you the happiness of going to heaven. Jin Bin, don't you want to bring your family back? Family. Mrs. Gao's words immediately gave Jin a sudden pause. Family. When Jin Bin was a gangster, he had a period of peace. At that time, he had a wife and a son. It's just that he never left the gang. In an accident, his wife and son saw the scene of him punishing his subordinates. Only then did his wife and son know his identity. So the wife and son chose to leave, and then an accident happened, and the wife and son left him. So this has always been a thorn in his heart. Madame Gao continued. Jin Bin, the Lord behind me exists for the happiness of all mankind. Even if you don't help that Lord, as long as someone knows the great purpose of that Lord, they will devote themselves to it without hesitation. I have completely joined that adult. Do you still want hesitation? Shock from Faith plus 100. He knew Mrs. Gao's pride. The other party is a proud and ruthless woman. She even dared to do it to the military, and even he, a gangster boss, refused to accept it. Today, she would actually admire such a person so much. You must know that using coercion, it is impossible for her to surrender to the other party so convincingly. But now Mrs. Gao looks like a fanatical believer in her eyes, as if she is completely fascinated by that person. What kind of charm is the person behind her? What happened in New York shook the world. All forces want to know what happened in New York eagerly. Someone was sent to check. Kamar Taj. In front of the Ancient One Supreme Mage stood a black man. It is Baron Mordo, whom Ancient One trusts very much. Baron Mordo, like the king, is the successor originally chosen by Ancient One. But both have their own shortcomings. Some flexibility is missing. But now, Ancient One can only send one to New York to inquire about news. Mordo, the mage holy place in New York has been destroyed. I need you to check it out. This incident, the crisis is very serious. I heard Ancient One say that this incident is very serious. Baron Mordo's heart sank suddenly. Ancient One has always been calm and breezy, and has never been as dignified as it is today. There is a feeling of having to explain the funeral. Make him flustered. Baron Mordo suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and asked cautiously, don't even you know what happened? Negative emotions from Baron Mordo plus 15, silence. Watching Ancient One Mage fell silent. Baron Mordo's heart was cold. It feels like I'm going to escape from death this time. Ancient One saw the psychology of Baron Mordo, and knew that what he had shown made Baron Mordo lose confidence. Ancient One just shook his head. It's not that I don't know, but I don't know much. Go there this time, and be more careful. Some things have surpassed time and rules. Don't be rash when you encounter problems. Baron Mordo finally looked better. At least the Supreme Mage didn't say that he would die if he went there, but listening to Ancient One's words, he also knew the seriousness of the problem. So he nodded gravely. All right. Even Ancient One Mage felt tricky. This crisis he really had to be careful when he went. I went. Careful. Ancient One sighed, his eyes seemed to pass through layers of space. Great power. The supreme rule. She didn't dare to peep directly, but just thinking about it, she felt very terrifying, as if there was some kind of wandering rule, as long as she touched it, it could kill her. And there seems to be a bigger rule inside, which doesn't appear. Negative emotions from Ancient One plus 1000, it is precisely because of its strength. So I can feel that fear even more. New York, Westchester. Xavier School for Gifted Youth. Professor X's private plane flew from California. Some of the X-Men came down, including Wolverine and Cyclops, Beast. After seeing what happened in New York, these three people were hurriedly summoned to investigate the New York incident. At the moment, school is not over yet. Those teenagers with peculiar abilities use their abilities to do some pranks. There are boys who can blow hair, playfully use it to lift up girls' miniskirts. And the girl will use laser-like eyes to burn a big hole in the boy's pants. Some people control the water to pour water on girls to achieve the effect of getting wet. So the girl will spit out fire to fight back, burning the other party's pants. It can be seen that these people have a good relationship. Everyone held back their strength, and at the same time making pranks, they also tried their best to prevent people from dying. Instead, it turns to make people socially dead. It seems that the school is good. The ability level of these students is not high. So it will not explode because the ability is too large to be controlled like Shin. These students study here and constantly master their ability. These warm scenes warmed their hearts. Positive emotions from Scott Summers plus 100. Positive emotions from Henry McCoy plus 100. Positive emotions from James Logan Howlett plus 100. So, this mission must ensure the safety of the children. Hank nodded and agreed with him. Although the school in the Westchester area is 100 miles away from the ruins, the border of Westchester is close, and when I came here, I have already discovered that the military issued a new according to the news. Westchester has been listed as a level E dangerous area, which means that there will be things that threaten children at any time, so we have to enter the ruins to find out the truth, and it is best to eliminate the threat. What happened in New York is estimated to attract the intervention of various forces. It will definitely be very lively. Several people did not take this crisis seriously. After all, they didn't really touch the battlefield. And the military and SHIELD keep things in New York very tight. I am afraid that if the matter is leaked out, it will cause a global sensation. However, how can there be an impenetrable wall in the world? The more you cover it up, you don't want others to see it. Others are more curious. Although distant areas cannot enter New York. But the radio stations and newspapers around New York have gone completely crazy. In order to broadcast the news, know the secrets inside. It has begun to not only be limited to candid shots on the periphery, but want to get first-hand news, get scoops. So in order to get news, these people sneaked in secretly, or flew helicopters into restricted areas. There are even some Facebook celebrities who sneak into the city's interior from the sewers in order to gain traffic. SHIELD. Trikurv Wing Building. Nick Fury looks at the surveillance camera on the screen. The person next to him reported to Nick Fury. The first batch of agents has already rushed to New York. The Hill agent will lead the team. The second batch of agents is being drawn back from all over the world to join this operation. The third batch is the newest employees. Nick Fury got the third list, and the first page was a woman, Sky. What follows is her profile introduction one after another. Keep going. And keep monitoring New York, keep people away from the ruins of New York. He learned from the survivors that he saw a ruled organism taken away by the military and disappeared. I hope that what the military takes away is not a particularly powerful rule creature. Military Combat Laboratory. Rob's face turned purple. The camera was destroyed, nothing was captured, and then everyone died. So what happened? Hey, what did you see? Tell me. Is there no one alive? Sizzle. The sound of signal jamming came from the helmet camera on the destroyed battlefield. Group B. Authorized by the Foundation Mobile Task Force, call the Ghost Team for assistance. Mission target. A shy person, target characteristics. Whoever sees the target will be killed by him. No immunity, no immunity, repeat, no immunity, no immunity. The site is not allowed to keep any information, photos, paintings of the target object. Repeat, the site is not allowed to keep. Sizzle. Use containment. Sizzle. To contain. Sizzle. ZZ. Rob of the Combat Laboratory sat down on the ground, sweat dripping from his forehead. Afterwards, the soul seemed to be pulled out of the body. Drops of cold sweat trickled down his temples. Negative emotions from Rob plus 200, negative emotions from Rob plus 200. This sound. Falcon has also reported that when facing that rule creature, he heard the sound of electric current disturbance. Also, they call themselves the Foundation. Definitely, it's not this kind of thing that scares Rob. Rather, what they say cannot be exempted. If you see him, you will be killed. You must know that there are a large number of reporters outside who want to break in. Being pushed out by them, only some people were allowed to enter the fringes to shoot. There are also many people who want to know what happened in New York through the live broadcast. So sneaked into New York secretly. Originally, he thought that even if he was photographed and made news, it wouldn't matter. It's a big deal to clean up afterwards, but if it is true that the things they said were photographed and made the news, or live broadcast on the internet, what will happen then? A shy person who will kill his target if he is seen. He seemed to know how his men died. Negative emotions from Rob plus 500. Negative emotions from Rob plus 500, if you say the only lucky thing. Only the team's camera was broken, so they didn't capture it. Wait. Did you get a picture? Rob's brain was desperately recalling whether he had seen the other party. But his brain desperately warned him not to recall, not to recall. The more warning, the clearer the memory. Negative emotions from Rob plus 300. This situation made his brain a mess, like mud. Delete. Delete the video record. Just in case, Rob chose to delete the recording of the video, and even asked people to store all the backup videos, and they were not allowed to view them. Wait. Why am I so stupid? How can I be scared by myself? How can I bear such a horrible thing by myself? Moreover, even if there is a scapegoat, others have to bear it together. Now Rob has a lot of scapegoats. but he knew that the more he was blamed, the safer he would be. Because something went wrong, he had to be blamed. The blame has already been taken. He will never resist this kind of psychological pressure alone. Rob puts on the call. On the other side, Nick Fury is carefully observing the sexual movements of the people in the video, including the agent. Director Nick, General Rob is on the phone. That guy. Nick Fury hesitated at first. He always looked for him by himself, but it was the first time General Rob looked for him. Although I don't know why. But he had an inexplicable feeling in his heart that the other party might have nothing good to come to him. Think for a while. Nick Fury decided to listen to him first. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the military are now considered a cooperative relationship. He also can't get too stiff with each other. Hi. This is Nick Fury. I'm Rob, and I apologize to you for my recklessness yesterday. Apologize. It's okay, it's all over. Nick Fury picked up the phone and looked at it with a frown. You won't be concerned about this, will you? I'll tell you one thing, don't be afraid. Rob's voice was quieter, but Nick Fury sounded like his hair was blown up. One thing. Do not be afraid. Special code. What did this pig teammate do again? Drug, medicine. Nick Fury had a lot of blood pressure medication prepared for him. Just to prevent such accidents. Last time he was so angry. The agent next to him was carrying a large bag of medicine and putting it on the table. After preparing the water and the medicine, Nick Fury swallowed at this moment. The voice trembled slightly. Say. Let's go. With these medicines, he believes that no matter what mess the military makes, he will at least guarantee that he will not be mad at the other party after listening to it. It's just that we found another creature that might be rule sex. Another. Nick Fury, whose blood pressure has been soaring by the military, is very uncomfortable. A rule creature? That's it. I thought you could bring some great news. The result is this kind of bad street news? Oh. Nick Fury gave some unremarkable feedback. Even a little bit depressed. After all, every move of the military before has had too much impact. Hearing this kind of news now, Nick Fury even has an absurd feeling. Is this news to you? Too disappointed. Medicines are prepared for nothing. Rob heard Nick Fury's reply. There is only one, huh? I already understand this rule. Let's talk. Nick Fury felt that the rule that even Rob knew was definitely not a particularly powerful advanced rule creature. After all, even the military knows. It shouldn't be too bad, at most it's about the same level as a monster contained by the military. Although it can hurt people, the way to deal with it should be very simple. This creature, I can only temporarily confirm that it appears within the scope of our Plan D area. Oh. Its rule is similar to the previous one, and the trigger condition is sight. Oh. After this one is seen, it will not stand still, but will kill the person who saw it. This is an inevitable result and cannot be exempted. Oh. Interesting. It also has a rule, that is, seeing it through photos or the internet will also trigger the rule, even if you accidentally glance at the other party. Nick Fury, who was watching the big screen and scanning the battlefield, froze. Mom F***K. Rob continued to say to Nick Fury. Now there are hundreds of journalists who have entered the ruins of New York, and there are also many internet celebrities who are live broadcasting on the internet. The whole world is paying attention to the events in New York. So, Nick? Nick? Are you there? Are you listening? Nick? Are you listening? Mom F***K? I hear you ***A***. Nick Fury stood up with a jerk. The whole world is watching. Hundreds of reporters entered the ruins, and a group of internet celebrities broadcast live. It would have been nice to see it. Nick Fury was stunned for a moment. Can't finish killing at all. He knew it was no good meeting Rob, and now it is. Once uploaded to the internet by a person, will it mean that everyone in the world will die? God. Why let him know such a collapsed news? Fac squid. Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 2000. Hear the manic voice over there. Ah, I feel much better. Positive emotions from Rob plus 1000. Nick Fury listened to the sound of the phone being hung up. He was panting heavily. He quickly poured down a medicine and pushed it into his mouth. Take it with water. Rob nearly sent his blood pressure skyrocketing. Who are these people? This bastard thing was definitely on purpose. Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 1000. Nick really wants to ask the military now. Call Rob back. New York really can't go on being tossed about by him like this. Although this time it really wasn't Rob's fault. But the news he brought was unbearable. Rob on the other side not only told Nick of S.H.I.E.L.D. about it. By the way, I told the current Secretary of State Ross together. Ross, who was watching the video of their action, smashed the computer in front of him with a fist on the spot. Mommy fuck. Negative emotions from Ross plus 500. But because of this, Rob managed to divide the black pot into 3 parts, and each of them carried a part. Now all 3 parties know that there is such a terrifying rule monster under the ruins of New York. That must be dealt with. And now the Secretary of State can only kill General Paul Beau, and use a tough attitude to issue orders to drive out all those who entered the ruins. The reporters who entered the ruins of New York were all sent back before they had time to take pictures. Their cameras were smashed and burned on the spot. This rude behavior immediately aroused the anger of journalists who did not know the truth. They severely criticized the military's tyrannical behavior and accused the military of deliberately concealing the truth. Some angry reporters even wanted to violently rush into the ruins. But it just forced the military to fire a shot. As for the reporters who had already sneaked in, Ross gave the order. Once found, they can be shot and killed directly. This is to prevent the possibility of rule creatures being leaked. Although most people are stopped by the army, the military cannot guarantee that everyone will be stopped. Killing people who enter the danger zone is the best solution. Although these have been advertised, warnings have been issued. But there are still a group of people who successfully sneaked into the ruined city. Eddie Brooke, a cunning reporter from one of the newspapers, managed to evade the military's interception, and used the city's sewers to enter Area D, which was listed as a restricted area by the military. The normal shooting, recording and broadcasting of at the moment has long been banned on the internet. And Eddie is using an illegal shot. Live streaming through illegal software. Now there are thousands of viewers in his live broadcast room. Eddie lifted up the manhole cover on the ground, looked at the devastated D area, and the cracks in the Grand Canyon that went deep into the chasm, and he was extremely shocked. Everyone, I successfully slipped in. Now everyone wants to know what happened in New York, but only you know. Next, everyone can feast their eyes. Once Eddie entered, he started wandering around. When he saw the corpse, he slapped him wildly. All kinds of shocking monsters and shocking scenes have been photographed by him a lot. And such a stimulating picture also successfully attracted many viewers for him. And as his filming progresses, he finally sees a squad of blacks, seemingly in action. They seem to be approaching something. Let me get closer and take a picture for everyone. He followed quietly. Get ready for a face shot. However, just as he was following far behind, a gun suddenly hit his head. Stop filming. A rough voice suddenly shouted angrily from behind. Warning again. Stop your filming. Eddie raised his hand, indicating that he was not threatening. Don't shoot. I'm just shooting. I didn't do anything out of line. Please don't shoot. You don't understand. What are you filming? Whoever sees him will be killed by him. Are you filming? You are holding a bomb. Delete. Delete immediately. Even no photos are allowed. Eddie turned around, and the other party saw the constant comments from the bottom of Eddie's phone. The other party realized. This is not filming. It's live. Oh, my God. Ruined. Warning. Target containment failure. Warning. Target containment failure. Warning. Target containment failure. A few piercing sounds came out. Immediately afterwards, Eddie saw a distorted monster suddenly appear behind the man in front of him, twisting the neck of the strong man with one hand. Then his pale eyes turned to Eddie and Eddie's phone. Slightly, Eddie was also instantly killed. The phone fell, and the camera captured Eddie's broken neck. Negative emotions from the audience plus 5. Negative emotions from the audience plus 5. Negative emotions from the audience plus 5. Die at the sight of the picture. When the video was shot, most of the audience saw that face. This time, the audience panicked. Definitely some people scoffed. Kill? How can it be? Can he know where I am? I just watched it. What's the matter? I have the ability. He suddenly noticed a figure reflected on the computer screen. But he lives alone. And the military, which was connected in series with the opponent's signal, got the news immediately. Nick. The target failed to contain it, and someone broadcast it on a mobile phone and released it. Hearing this, Nick collapsed to the ground. Damn. He doesn't even have the strength to curse now. Forget it. Destroy it. Tired. They all warned them, but they didn't listen, and they all thought they could do it. Then what can I do? Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 500. Hill agent entered the ruined city and also received a message from Nick. Rule creatures. Another one appeared. However, he has escaped and is currently missing. I don't know if I will kill all those people. Hill frowned, analyzing the current situation in the temporary war room, and a male agent was summarizing all the information. At least before going to work, they need to sort out who their teammates are. Who is their enemy? In order to move smoothly in the next action. Agenta summarizes information against the projector. The one force that can be identified now is the force behind the real person. The purpose of this force is to unlock Skull Island and enter Skull Island. Although I don't know what their ultimate goal is, but with their attitude towards human beings being killed at will, they are definitely not a force with good intentions towards human beings. Therefore, it can be clearly listed as a hostile force. Currently known characters. Real people. Ability is to modify the soul. YYU. Ability is to control the growth of plants and plant seeds on people. Gold creatures. Ability and strength are unknown. The second force is the original force of Skull Island. The forces of Skull Island are not unified. At least for now, there are two forces, Asgardian and the Suppressed. Asgardian, currently only one is known, is the gorilla whose son was killed by the military. It may be his grandson Caesar. He is currently by the rich man Tony's side and can be listed as a cooperative force for the time being. Focus. Caesar and his mother Belle. Other than that, the rest are all suppressed, including demonic energy, Titan, and the newly discovered Mundo, as well as various rule creatures. They don't help humans, nor do they help the forces behind Taoist. They fight with all, therefore, it is listed as an absolutely hostile force and must be eliminated. Currently known. Titan, Titan within 3 to 13 meters, Psychopath Mundo, rule creature. The third-party forces are the most mysterious forces. Mysterious force. The agent waited for a while before continuing. That's the balance of power that the person who called himself Daddy said, including the angel that suddenly appeared before, and the foundation that suddenly appeared. Judging from the rules that they acted quietly and then left quietly, they don't want to be with you. There are too many entanglements with other human beings, therefore, it is very likely that it is a third-party force, and it can be listed as a cooperative force. The following are speculations by third-party forces. Battle Angel. Characteristic. Extremely high combat power, with explosive power above nuclear weapons, speed above 20 times the speed of sound, and suddenly appearing when a crisis breaks out. The possibility of a third-party force is 80%. VV College. It is currently known that Mr. Greedy Wolf, the right hand of God ability, can copy 3 copies of ability. Mr. Pojun. Ability to control the earth. Characteristics. Information temporarily unable to query, suddenly appearing when a crisis breaks out. The possibility of a third-party force 50%. The Foundation, human troops, or possibly non-human troops, have characteristics, move strangely, quickly, and have special means to target rules, and when rule creatures suddenly break out, the possibility of third-party forces is 90%. Dad. Uncle Long, Xiao Yu. After investigation, I found that Dad is the owner of an antique shop in New York. He knows some magic and knows a lot. The information can be queried, and the third-party influence is 10%. After the agent analyzes it, Hill agent roughly sorted out these forces. Although there are still some doubts, at least the target and target have been determined. The agent continued to introduce. Skull Island forces, our Natasha Romanoff has successfully contacted Caesar and Belle and maintained a good relationship. Father and others have investigated the information and are very low-key. If you ask him for help, he should not refuse. We can cooperate with him first. The VV Academy and the Foundation are currently unknown and need to be contacted further. The above is a summary of the current situation. Hill nodded after listening to the agent's report. Then stood up and took the controller from the opponent's hand. What you said basically covers the information we currently have. But it misses an important point. That is the third-party force, the most fundamental and essential one, the one who balances the world. If a third-party force can be turned into a circle, then the person who leads this circle. Hill agent held the remote control to turn on the laser pointer, and clicked a point on the pattern of the third force. Then spit out a few words. That's the most important thing. Tony's company is destroyed, but he doesn't care at all. After all, he has enough money. Destroy one company and build a few more. As long as Pepper is okay. As for his battle armor, although he lost almost the same amount in the last battle. But as long as Jarvis is still there, as long as his industrial system is still there, then he can continue to produce. Natasha Romanoff, Tony and others left from the ruins of New York, and did not go directly to S.H.I.E.L.D., or the military to report the situation. Instead, take Belle to the hospital for a checkup. At the same time, let Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye, and Po Jun stay with them to prevent the forces behind the real person from suddenly appearing. Moreover, both of them have experience in dealing with real people and can guard against real people. Tony and Pepper followed Papa back to Papa's antique shop to find some solutions. Chinatown, an antique shop. Pop knocked on the door. Hey, True, Pop's back. Tony surveyed the surrounding buildings curiously. Listening to the people passing by saying hello to the old man, all of them looked very enthusiastic. It made him feel that his father should be quite famous here. This makes Tony, who is used to seeing the coldness of high-rise buildings, see the smell of fireworks here, and Tony feels that this place is more warm and more suitable for living. It's no wonder that Dad looks ordinary, but he hides his secrets. The small hermit hides in the wild, and the big hermit hides in the city. Dad is really low-key. Father, Uncle Long, I'm going out to play. Xiao Yu, don't cause trouble. Understood, Uncle Long. In the antique shop, a strong man opened the door. He was more than 2 meters tall and had strong muscles. Tony squeezed his arm, and the other's arm was almost catching up with his 2 thighs. I don't know how long it is. Don't just stand there, come in and have a seat. With his hands behind his back, the old man walked towards the inside. It was the first time for Tony to enter this kind of antique shop. In the past, he had entered some venues for auctions, which were all about high-end atmosphere, unlike Dad's shop, where all kinds of antiques were displayed, just like a wholesale market. One of the fist-sized balls flickered when Tony walked by. A yellow ball with 6 5-pointed stars inside? Father? What is this? Tony grabbed the yellow ball and shook it. It was quite heavy. The old man glanced back, and said casually, Dragon balls. Once you gather them all, you can summon the dragon and make a wish. Basically any wish can come true. Any wish? Tony didn't care at first. But after hearing the old man say that after collecting all the pieces, you can make a wish, and any wish can come true, so you quickly grabbed it with both hands, for fear of breaking it. Dad wouldn't lie to him. Yes. Besides, there are 7 Dragon Balls on Earth, and the number of stars on each one is different. Although there are only 7, only a handful of people have collected them since ancient times. If you want it, you can take it yourself. Let's put this thing here with Dad, and Dad is just selling it as an antique. This is too precious. Tony couldn't put it down. It's okay, if the Earth is destroyed, maybe it can be used as the last guarantee. Dad's words made people feel a little lost. Looking at the old man walking towards the study with his hands behind his back and his rickety body. Positive emotions from Tony Stark plus 500, Dad, don't worry, I will fight for the Earth until the last second. True scratched his head, as if he had forgotten something. When I saw my father walking towards the study, I quickly took out a letter from under an antique. By the way, Dad, I almost forgot. When you were leaving, someone came to you, and he said yes, your junior brother, then asked me to hand you a letter, and left in a hurry. A letter from my junior brother. The old man turned around and frowned. What do you want me to do? Bring it to me. A letter opens. Immediately, pieces of gold's words floated in the air. Tony was slightly taken aback. The text in front of me seems to be projected by high technology, which is very magical. It's just a piece of paper, but it looks like high technology. Magic, as expected, I really need a magic device. Tony noticed that Dad's expression was very serious, as if something terrible was about to happen. Daddy. Dad suddenly asked, True, what's the date today? Father, July 15th. What's the matter? Dad slapped his head. I actually forgot such an important thing. July 14th, the gate of hell is open, and ghosts travel at night. True touched his head. Isn't that July 14th? Today is July 15th. July 14th has already passed. Time zone. The time zone is different. The old man explained with a hatred of iron and steel. So today is July 15th. In fact, according to the time, it is also July 14th. Watching the old man run to the study room, he took out a thick classic. The father's face became more and more gloomy. On July 14th, the Ghost King went out, and then the ghosts walked at night. Skull Island is the closest place to the gate of hell. Now that Skull Island is opened, the gate of hell is loose. The 8 demons and the 100 ghosts will appear. Even the blood demon in the Yukon Tower and the demon locking tower will come. So now we have less than 12 hours. Father, what are the Ghost King and the 8 demons you were talking about? And Yukon blood demon? Listening to his father's words, Tony couldn't help becoming nervous. Although I don't know what it is, but it feels inexplicably dangerous. The life-threatening kind. The king of ghosts is the kind of ghost in the stories you've heard since childhood, and he's the most powerful ghost. And the ghost you heard can only be regarded as a motley army. The existence of cannon fodder and the night walk of the 100 ghosts mean that this night is a feast of killing. Wherever the ghosts pass by, there are thousands of miles of red land and no grass. They will wreak havoc for a whole night before leaving. The old man paused, and then continued. Definitely, there are more than 100 ghosts, maybe 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, or even hundreds of millions. Mom F*K. Even a real person is so difficult to deal with, encountering hundreds of millions of ghosts. Tony from At the Moment is almost assimilated by Nick Fury. Negative emotions from Tony Stark plus 1000. Negative emotions from Pepper plus 1000. The old man shook his head. So, the exact scale is impossible to speculate. These activities of the night walk of the 100 ghosts have not appeared for almost 1,000 years, and these guys have not started the night walk of the 100 ghosts for thousands of years. True heard this. Dad, I think we should move away quickly. These are not easy to deal with, you can't touch them, they can hurt you, and they can swallow your soul. Negative emotions from Tony Stark plus 2000, a real person, modifying the human soul. Another bunch of ghosts came and devoured people's souls. Thinking of the previous Shadow Legion, Tony quickly asked, there won't be any ninjas from the Shadow Legion this time, right? That's not certain. Negative emotions from Tony Stark plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Tony wanted to change the subject. The injury on his butt was finally healed, but don't burst it again. Father, what are the 8 evil spirits you are talking about? 8 great demonic chi. Dad fell into deep thought. This is too much trouble to explain. You just need to know that it is related to the 8 immortals, and the 8 immortals are equivalent to the gods you often talk about in Western mythology. Pa went on to say, the weapons of the gods were contaminated with demonic aura, sealed up by the gods, and thrown into hell. The 8 demons were then sealed by the gods in the depths of the gate of hell. If the gate of hell is open, the 8 demonic auras will flow out of it. Come out, legendary, and gather the power of the 8 great demons, and you can easily destroy the entire world. These demons have nothing to do all day long, thinking about destroying the world every day. Tony is tired. What about Yukon Bloodfiend? This doesn't sound like a very powerful one. Of these 3 new forces, there must be one who is the weakest. Not great. Dad glared at Tony. This guy is a devil who cultivates blood god scriptures and soul banners. If he catches you, just wait for your soul to be trained into his weapon. Arms? Seeing that Tony didn't believe in evil, the father continued. In terms of strength, Yukon Gorfiend can smelt hundreds of ghosts, and is the natural enemy of all ghosts, and it is very possible that all the ghosts are the vanguard driven by him, just to resurrect himself. Listen to Dad's introduction. Tony's throat feels dry. He thought he was a genius. Created a suit of armor and created the artificial intelligence Jarvis. Before meeting his father, he was full of confidence. The world is so big, is there a place I dare not go? But now it seems. Don't dare. The monsters you encounter become stronger and stronger one by one. How to play this? Negative emotions from Tony Stark plus 100 plus 101 plus 102. Don't be so disappointed. Toru comforted Tony. Don't forget father and brother. Yeah. Tony perked up immediately. Dad is so awesome, and his senior brothers are not too bad. Moreover, the father only found out about this matter after receiving a letter from his junior brother, which meant that someone had noticed it before the father. The letter was written by my brother Baimei Taoist. He predicted the appearance of the Ghost King. It seems that another demonic energy that descended on New York was transformed by the Ghost King. Once the Ghost King opens the gate of hell, thousands of ghosts will be killed. It will come out of hell, and the 8 great demons will also appear, so the most important thing is the soul refining banner that exists beside the Ghost King. That's easy, just drop a nuclear bomb. The original Tony didn't like to use nuclear bombs as lethal weapons. Too powerful and uncontrollable. But now, he gradually understood the fun of Mei Lijian's government. No wonder everyone likes to use nuclear bombs to solve problems when they are in trouble. Because of simplicity, a nuclear bomb was dropped. Whatever trouble you have. With a bang, the problem was all solved. If you are not afraid that Skull Island will be completely opened in advance, you can try using a nuclear bomb. The old man was not afraid of hitting him and continued. Definitely if you really use nuclear weapons, then the happiest thing is the power behind the real person. Tony also just said that he definitely knew that a nuke was used. At that time, let alone solving the problem, it may cause even bigger problems. slowed down for a while. Tony frowned. Since the nuclear bomb is useless, what should I do? Find the priest. Father is not bad at dealing with demons. It seems that I have to call my senior brothers to help. The second floor of the jewelry store. Lin Tian used the creation crystal to modify the entire building. Although it still looks like an ordinary shop on the outside, there is a lot of space inside. The whole environment becomes very open and has a vast flat floor. Equivalent to alter reality, directly cutting out an independent space. Looked at the income of the creation crystal. 1,500 creation crystals. Although some of the negative emotions created by the chaos camp have been extracted. But it is a pity that there are still a lot of magic energy in the chaos camp. As a result, there are very few positive emotions on the human side, and it is difficult to achieve a balance. If things go on like this, there will be no need for a few major events. The evil energy will completely overwhelm the righteous energy. Then you can't control it. Therefore, Lin Tian needs to regulate it. Humans need light, need hope, and the light. Looks like it's you. After Lin Tian chooses, build a brand new event again. This time, a world similar to a sand table appeared in front of him, which was a one-to-one replica of the World of Ruins in New York. But this time the replica is no longer New York, but a state next to New York, some distance away from New York. With the appearance of the plane map, a pyramid appeared inside the mountain, and from the outside, nothing could be seen. Then, Lin Tian began to add details of the big event. In the glowing pyramids, 3 Titan statues stand, as if sleeping. Immediately afterwards, a beam of light was simulated in the air, shaping. An optimistic, friendly, laughing human appeared. It only takes 1 Genesis crystal to create 1 human. This is because he creates only 1 medium. Power has not been loaded yet. Therefore, less creation crystals are consumed. If the finished product is directly created, then there will be a lot of creation crystals that need to be consumed. Just like Donkey Kong before. It has not been fully created, it is enough to create some phenomena and scenes. This is also the reason why Lin Tian created the Skull Island incident, but not so many monsters appeared all at once. Including the flying magic energy, it is all in preparation for the later loading of monsters. We're almost ready for the second big event. Lin Tian looked outside, the sky was clear. Now, just wait for the night. Outside the door, a bald man ran past. As if aware of the crisis in New York, he looked towards the ruined city of New York. In another yard, a pink-haired angel was planting watermelons in the garden, and looked towards the ruins with some perception. Although some people had already appeared, Lin Tian didn't directly let them participate in the big event. After all, there are only people who haven't loaded enough creation crystals to give them their original power. Finally, adjust the trigger conditions of the third big world. While Lin Tian was working on perfecting the next big thing, the second big event has already started to trigger. Gantz. Start up. Tony wasn't just waiting. He also tried to contact his armor manufacturing factory and let them hurry up to manufacture the armor. There is not much time now, only 12 hours are left for them. At the same time, from Dad's side, ask about the means to deal with ghosts. Father, how should we deal with the ghosts after they appear? Are all ghosts like real people, and our means can't hurt them? Or are they like demons, who have to pronounce each other's name in order to expel them, or throw salt expulsion? If it's the last one, I can buy the entire melee sword and spread the salt over the ruins. The corner of Dad's mouth twitched. Treacherous and inhumane. Problems that can be solved with money are not problems for Tony. Ghosts can be destroyed by energy, such as being killed by lightning, or a strong magnetic field can trap them, which is a good way to deal with them. It's not invincible. The monsters Tony dealt with before were too desperate, but now that he heard that ghost can be destroyed by energy, he still feels a little empty in his heart. That's it. The old man pushed his glasses and finished assembling the magic weapon in his hand. It's just a ghost, not a rule monster. It can definitely be wiped out. Why do you look so disappointed? Don't underestimate the other party. Inflation and underestimation will harm yourself. Knowing about my father, I will find a way to deal with all the ghosts and prevent the blood demon from Yukon from descending. If there is a way to address it, then there will be a solution. Since the magnetic field can trap these ghosts, build a huge amounts of magnetic field in the ruins of New York. Definitely, this requires the cooperation of the military and SHIELD. Need to find Natasha Romanoff and contact SHIELD first. Coincides with at the moment. SHIELD analyzed the information of the second magic energy. Director. The second wave of magic energy that landed in New York has been analyzed and landed in the safe zone. Give me. Wait, isn't this thing a rule creature? Probably not. He was a little scared after the last rule creature escaped from New York. This rule creature is absolutely sure to kill. Fortunately, in the follow-up cleaning process, that kind of rule monster did not reappear. In Nick's view, since there are special organizations to contain those monsters, there is no need for them to meddle in other people's work. Those rule-like creatures should be contained by those who call themselves the Foundation. They shield or dedicated to dealing with them the power behind real people. The military is responsible for dealing with the monsters running out of Skull Island, cleaning up the entire city, and drawing clear boundaries. Now New York is rezoned by the military. It is divided into safe zone, buffer zone and dangerous zone. The buffer zone was set up 10 miles away from the ruins, and a 10-kilometer buffer zone was reserved outside. The outside of the buffer zone is the safe zone. The danger zone is ABCD graded according to the degree of danger. Area A is the area where the army is stationed and SHIELD is located. The monsters are basically cleaned up and the danger level is low. Area B has only been cleaned once, and there may be omissions. Area C is the area being cleaned, and there may be more monsters. Area D, the area where rule creatures appeared, but because of the reduced level of danger, it was listed in Area C, and Mundo was also a creature that appeared in Area D. Area E, the most central part, is also the most dangerous area. There are a large number of colossal titans and evolved magic spirits. Fighters will be detonated when they enter. The second magic energy is in the safe zone. What is it? Like a flag. A strange flag, and in another place. Outside a mall a dozen blocks away from them. Two girls in short skirts passed by several members of the X-Men. One of them walked in front with shoulder-length brown hair, brown pupils, unyielding eyes, and a pretty face that didn't need makeup. Definitely her bust is pretty miserable, even the bust line is indistinct. And behind him, a girl who is slightly shorter than the average height of ordinary girls, has brown hair and a double ponytail tied with a bow. The girl behind caught up with the girl in front, and then suddenly lifted the skirt in front. Hey, my sis, oh, I'm disappointed, I'm wearing such boring underwear again today. Sunspot, what are you doing? My lord, it's hard to go out for a trip, so just relax. Look, I reserved a big bedroom with a double package and a hot spring for two. Misaka Makoto looked at Shirai Sunspot in front of her, and couldn't help but want to punch her in the head. When she went on a trip, she actually encouraged her to go to the hot springs and live in a love hotel with a big bedroom. Are you going to travel or play with her? Just when Misaka Makoto was about to reprimand Shirai Sunspot, the ground suddenly split open. ZZ, immediately afterwards, streaks of black lightning emerged from the gap. ZZZ. What? And a flag suddenly drilled out near the crack. Red's triangular flag with distorted human faces, like evil spirits stuck to the flag. With a distorted appearance, it ferociously wanted to climb out of the banner. What's this? Help! Help! Shirai Sunspot quickly put on her disciplinary committee sleeve. Then use her space skills, flash to the flag, and rescue those who are close to the flag one by one. It's just that it's not just Misaka Makoto and Shirai Sunspot who are close to the flag, but also the passing X-Men. Logan, Storm, Hank et al. When they heard the cry for help from the people behind them, they also turned around quickly. Just in time to see the panicked crowd running away. It's just that they were a little far away, and it was too late to save people. Negative emotions from passerby A+1+1+1. The black lightning around the red flags seemed to be condensed into the hands of evil spirits. Those sharp palms had traces of blood and red, and then they grabbed Shirai Sunspot's ankle fiercely. Sunspot originally wanted to take people away, but found that his soul was about to be drawn into that banner. Ability is no longer available, sister. Misaka Makoto turned cold, although Shirai Sunspot often harassed her. But Shirai Sunspot is her best sister. You are not allowed to bully her. Misaka Makoto took out a coin from her waist, and then countless electric currents appeared around her body. Give me. Misaka Makoto, who can control a 1,000,000-volt electric current, pops out the coin in her hand. Let her go. There was a surge of electric current. An electromagnetic cannon with lightning and anger exploded towards the big black hand. The electromagnetic gun drew a deep trace on the ground. Snapped. The ejected coin, carrying lightning, instantly shattered the black arm. And gliding hundreds of meters on the ground, Black's arm shattered. Shirai Sunspot's soul returns to the body. Flickering. Shirai Sunspot walked away from the range of the banner holding a little girl she had just rescued. And those who didn't have time to save, their souls were dragged into that flag. Several people from X-Men rushed to the scene and heard the conversation between Shirai Sunspot and Misaka Makoto. My lord, be careful. That thing is not pulling people, but devouring people's souls. Don't be caught by those black hands, you will be pulled in by it. Swallow soul? Logan, Hank, Storm and others looked at each other with solemn expressions. Negative emotions from Logan plus 50. Negative emotions from Hank plus 100. Negative emotions from Storm plus 30. Both Logan and Hank are hand-to-hand combat. If the soul is dragged into it by that thing, they were afraid that they would not even be able to resist. Natural restraint. But Storm can control storms and thunder, and can attack from a distance, so it's not very scary. No wonder the professor said it's dangerous here, let's be careful. Are they mutants too? If it's mutant, maybe they can be admitted to Mutant Academy. Misaka Makoto looked at the flag in front of her with serious brows. Because Red's banner just started to produce new changes because of her attack. A black aura is constantly generated around it, like a black mist, and in the black mist, one black hand after another constantly appears. Those hands stuck to the ground, desperately crawling towards the surroundings. Shirai Sunspot's cell phone rang. After receiving the call, Shirai Sunspot's expression changed drastically. My lord, something big is going to happen. The Academy informed that creatures above level 5 are about to come, and it's in New York. Over LV5 level? Misaka Makoto's face was serious. Smash it. Never let it fall. Red's banner wafts a disgusting stench and blood. It seems that because of the coming of the flag, the clear sky began to become gloomy. Storm? Don't look at me, I didn't do it, but I can try to expel it. Storm has the ability to change the weather, manipulate the weather and create storms. Storm spread his hands, his eyes turned silver. Try to manipulate the weather. She could feel that the changes in the world just now were due to the appearance of that flag. But it is not deliberately manipulated. And when she floated into the air, integrating her power into the heaven and earth, she wanted to control the weather and drive away the dark clouds above her head. But found out in horror. The storm between heaven and earth is completely out of her control. This does not seem to be the power of the storm. It is a kind of intertwined spiritual power, which condenses the painful wailing of resentful spirits. At this moment, she seemed to see a scene in the real world through the illusory world. In more than 20 places in New York, a terrifying tornado storm emerged. They seemed to drain the surrounding power, and finally gathered in the center of the ruins. Under her spiritual vision, she saw the huge bloody vortex upside down in the sky. Below the vortex, there seemed to be countless wraiths struggling to get out of the bloody vortex. She can't control it. That's not a storm. It is a twisted spiritual storm formed by the gathering of countless resentful spirits. If she tried to fight against it forcefully, it might tear her spirit apart in an instant. Approaching her nearest banner, those evil spirits seemed to have seen her spiritual world and crawled towards her. Painful. Help me. I am in so much pain. Kill. Kill. Kill them all. Kill me. Kill me. I want to get out, please, let me out. Those ghosts grabbed her arm, and the place where her arm was grabbed immediately seemed to be polluted. Black's handprint, printed on her shoulder, if you look at it with a magnifying glass. The mark of Black is composed of tens of thousands of Black's arms overlapping each other. And each Black's arm is composed of tens of thousands of Black's arms. The more you stare, the more you can't see the end, the more you can't see the end, the more you can't look away. Ah. Just get in touch with the other party's spiritual power. Storm covered his head. Fall from the sky. Fear from Storm plus 2000. 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 Something incomprehensible. That kind of thing was an abstract creature she couldn't comprehend at all. Just being touched by the other party, she felt that she was about to collapse. The palms of countless resentful spirits almost pulled her soul out of her body. Ilolo. What's wrong with you? Logan catches the falling storm. After he and Hank see storm rise into the air. Result. Not a few seconds yet. Not even the overcast clouds in the sky have changed in any way. He immediately lost his strength and fell from the sky. Fortunately, Logan caught Storm. Otherwise, this time, Storm will have a hard time falling. Watching Storm sink into pain, the two were a little overwhelmed. She should have seen something she shouldn't have seen. When Logan and Hank didn't know how to help her relieve her pain, Shirai Sunspot said this to them. See something you shouldn't see. Yes, there may be some the power of rules above LV5 and above, and if the level is too low, if you use spiritual power to spy, it will be affected. Logan looked at the pained storm. What should we do now? Shirai's sunspot checked her body, and then breathed a sigh of relief. She was lucky, she was only touched a little, and was not polluted in a large area, so she can recover her sanity in a few minutes. If she is completely polluted, even those of you who come across him will become a source of pollution and must be cleaned up. Negative emotions from Hank plus 200, negative emotions from Logan plus 100. Hank was relieved to hear that Storm was fine. This time he and Logan led the team out. If their teammates died, they would have no face to go back and explain to the professor. By the way, who are you? Why do you know so much? Shirai's sunspot, he, shouldn't you introduce yourself before you ask others? While the three of them were talking, Misaka Makoto fired another electromagnetic cannon with huge amounts of power. This time, even the ground was almost lifted off. The electromagnetic cannon pierced through countless Black's hands and came to the red pennant. ZZ, the electromagnetic gun seemed to have hit a barrier. Then, explode. ZZZZ, the electromagnetic cannon burst out with lightning-like power, flashing dazzling light instantly. Damn it. It's still close. What the hell is this thing? Misaka Makoto's terrifying power directly shocked Logan and Hank. If that kind of force hits a person, it may tear the human body apart in an instant. The flickering light, the hurricane-blown dress, and the unyielding eyes are like a tough Valkyrie. Strong, stubborn, belief, never give in. Again. Destroy it for me, ZZ. A billion volts of electricity formed the blue space around her. Blue's light made her eyes sharper. The coin bounced. Spin countless times in the air. It makes people seem to see that the weight of fate is about to fall. The stimulation brought by the electromagnetic burst made Logan couldn't help but close his eyes. Block the storm with your arms. It seemed that a gust of 10th level wind was blowing, making them completely unsteady. Boom. The railgun knocked that coin out. Before Thunder's strength calmed down, the black hand that had been torn apart did not heal, and hit the surrounding barriers that protected it again. Bang. Bang. Bang, the surrounding buildings were all shattered together, and even the ground was shattered into slag. Misaka Makoto's powerful blow easily destroys everything around it. Let the whole street be exposed to the dazzling light of lightning. Collapse. The barrier shattered and Red's pennant was hit. The electromagnetic force instantly tore apart those intertwined souls. Sister is great. Come on, sister, come on, sister, come on. Shirai's sunspot acted like a child, looking at this powerful older sister with admiration. When Shirai's sunspot heard the sound of the red flag cracking, he jumped up happily and cheered for his sister. But Misaka Makoto's expression was not very good looking. It took so much force to destroy this flag. This is just one of them. Logan and Hank next to him were already shocked by Misaka Makoto's power. A little girl has mastered this terrifying ability with ease. Hey, let me introduce to you. This is Misaka Makoto-sama, the highest LV5 among the 7 students in Academy City, and the 3rd ranked one, and I, Misaka Makoto-sama, who is closest to me. We sleep with each other every night, Miss Shirai's sunspot. Misaka Makoto came over and hammered Shirai's sunspot's brains out. If you talk nonsense again, I will seal your mouth. Misaka Makoto apologized to Logan and Hank. I'm sorry, my sister likes to joke very much. Let me introduce. My name is Misaka Makoto. She is Shirai's sunspot. She is a student of Academy City Middle School, and she is visiting New York. Academy City. Shirai's sunspot came over and posted with Misaka Makoto. Yes, my sis is the 3rd in the school. And I am the discipline committee member in the school. When encountering such a thing, I definitely have to draw my sword to help. Hank looked over Shirai's sunspot's shoulder, a green sleeve. Although he can't read, but with his super high IQ, he conducted a complete analysis of the identities of the two in an instant. Academy City, ranked 3rd, will exceed ability, well controlled. Is your school also teaching you to learn super abilities? It turns out that not only Professor X opened a mutant school. Are there other mutant schools in this world? And according to what they mean, they have rankings and seem to have formed a cult rule? That's right, I became a disciplinary committee member only because of my good grades, and my sis was. Sorry, sunspot can't talk. Misaka Makoto stopped Shirai's sunspot to prevent her from talking too much. We are actually common people too. In Academy City, everyone contributes and helps each other. Don't worry about it. Logan and Hank glanced at each other, and immediately became very interested in this academy city. Listening to the conversation of the two, and the way they talked to a group of strangers. It seems that they have never experienced the kind of time when they were hunted down by humans and cornered. Could it be that you are not afraid of being arrested by humans for using super abilities so blatantly? Shirai Sunspot put his hands on his hips. Arrest? How could you be arrested? As long as you don't destroy public property. Oh, my sis is too bad. You seem to be destroying public property again. My lord, you don't want this matter to be. Misaka Makoto didn't bother to pay attention to her, but looked at the two of them. Hurry up and go. I have to deal with several other sources of danger. Not a few, but 24. Storm, who was originally in pain, stood up at the moment. Storm rising from the ground. At the moment I still have lingering fears. What she saw before was somewhat beyond her comprehension. At the moment she quickly looked at her arm. At the moment, the traces of being caught in the mental state are no longer visible. This gave her some relief from overwrought emotions. But even so, she still felt creepy, feeling like ants were crawling all over her body. Are you alright? It's okay, but what is that thing? Negative emotions from Storm plus 50 plus 55 plus 50 plus 54 plus. Follow Storm's line of sight. There is only a plain red pennant with a black border on the ground. And the surrounding streets seem to be broken into gravel as if the 10 meters centered on it. Crushed. Misaka Makoto tapped her chin with her finger. It's a little strange to say, I don't know why, I just hit it, but the buildings around it seem to be connected to him, so if I'm not careful, it's all broken. Seeing Misaka Makoto's embarrassed face, Logan and Hank also twitched their mouths. I don't know why, but I always feel that the other party's words seem to be showing off. Sure enough, he was still a child. But they are very curious about the college that can educate such excellent students. You know, in their mutant academy, students often form gangs at every turn. Or school bullying. It's better now. A few years ago, or 10 years ago, there were incidents of friction and bleeding in schools almost every day. And most importantly, they can live in harmony with the common people. This is very rare. If Professor X knows that there is such a college, I will definitely think of the other party to conduct some investigations. Positive emotions from Hank plus 200, positive emotions from Logan plus 100. Negative emotions from Storm plus 40 plus 45 plus 40 plus 47 plus. By the way, Storm, just now you said you saw not just a few, but 24. Storm propped himself up on his arms, barely standing up. She nodded towards Misaka Makoto. Right. In my previous state, I saw a total of 24 storms, all of which were connected to the center of the ruins. Although I couldn't see it in the real world, I could see it clearly in the spiritual world. There were all souls there. Think about what you saw before. Storm's scalp tingles. Negative emotions from Storm plus 50 plus 51 plus 50 plus 53 plus. Looks like we'll have to pull down another 23 flags, Sunspot. Harry. Let's go. Miss, please wait. Logan glanced at Hank. Hank, you take Storm back first, I'll see if I can help. Although Storm Girl was afraid of the flag in her heart, she still stood up in the absence of manpower. Wait, I will help too. Don't push yourself. Hank looked at Storm. Storm took a deep breath. It's okay, I'm already fine. Besides, as long as that kind of thing doesn't touch those ghosts with mental power, it will be fine. The big deal is that I can control the storm from a farther distance. You are not strong enough, you need my help. Seeing that Storm was determined to go, Logan pondered for a moment. I can only nod in agreement. She was right. After all, only Misaka Makoto among them has the ability to attack from a distance. The others didn't even have a chance to get close to the flag. The melee ability doesn't work at all in front of this kind of soul-attacking monster. After S.H.I.E.L.D. received Tony's message, the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. was tense again up and down. The last time I was so nervous was when I heard the news that the rule creature had escaped 2 hours ago. But some agents feel like it happened last year. It has been such a high-intensity work. I'm so tired that I can't tell the real time. The crisis on Skull Island has just passed, and now there is a night walk of ghosts, and there are still 8 evil spirits behind, and the blood demon from Yukon descends. Nick always feels that someone is catching the leaks in New York and pulling them hard. He stroked his hair subconsciously. Fortunately, I have no hair. Otherwise, I should have lost a lot of hair today. Haha, that's great. I'm so lucky. No hair. Negative emotions from Nick Fury plus 300 plus 301 plus 302 plus 303. For those subordinates, Nick's cardio has improved tremendously in the first few workouts. After hearing the news of the night walk of the 100 ghosts, it didn't have any effect, and he was even in the mood to make a joke. Let the agent under him admire for a while. Director Nick is finally crazy. Not only Director Nick is going crazy, but I am also going crazy. Negative emotions from Magenta +2+2. Negative emotions from Magenta +2+3. Negative emotions from Magenta +2+4. Director Nick, the 24 flags have been locked. According to Dad, as long as the 24 flags are destroyed before midnight, the gates of hell can be prevented from opening. It seems quite simple. Negative emotions from Nick Fury +10. That is. What is it? Negative emotions from Nick Fury +410. I just want Director Nick to rest assured that the task will be completed this time. Negative emotions from Nick Fury +9. Hey, this guy won't play badly, right? Good news comes with negative emotions? Tony went to Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye after explaining things. Start spending money to arrange magnetic field devices. Magnetic fields and lightning have a great restraint effect on Hyakki Yakin. Therefore, as long as the layout is completed, there is a certain chance that those ghosts can be successfully prevented from descending. The so-called magnetic field device, which is an electromagnetic coil made of very large electronic equipment. It can generate up to 100,000 times the magnetic force of the common magnetic field. There are 8 in total. They are respectively placed in the safe range of D area. In order for the electromagnetic coil to have the greatest effect, a very high power electric energy is required for manipulation, so the working time will not be too long. And there are soldiers guarding around the wires. These are just some preliminary plans. After all, the main stage now is to destroy those 24 flags. Out of universe. In the endless deep space. On a biological battleship with huge amounts of. Loki and Thanos finally came to a final agreement. The Titan lent Loki a division of troops, and then gave him a magical scepter capable of manipulating the mind. But the price is that Loki has to help him take Earth. The purpose of Loki's borrowing of troops is to attack the Earth and then get back the place. With so many troops, isn't it a piece of cake to fight the Earth? Earth, here I come. After the first banner is destroyed. The same changes as the first banner appeared around the other banners. Climb out from the various colored banners with black claws and red streak lightning. Grayish shimmers of twisted spirits hovered around the banner. There were basically no survivors within 20 meters around the flag. The ground was littered with corpses whose souls and blood had been sucked out. And outside the safety range of 30 meters, there are still some people who are not afraid of death with their mobile phones to take pictures. There are even some people who desperately squeezed forward in order to obtain first-hand information, regardless of the obstruction of the warning line. The patrolman who maintained order shouted at these people to leave. But these people turned a deaf ear as if they hadn't heard it. Leave. Leave quickly. It's so dangerous here. Stop shooting. Fact. The big black hand inside adjusted its direction again, rushing outward to expand its territory. 20 meters is no longer within its domain. But 30 meters. The onlookers saw the erupting black hands grabbing towards them. Just remembered to run away. But at the moment there is no time to run away. Black's big hand was like lightning, fast and violent. ZZ, ziz, ziz, in the opposite direction of their running. A blue electromagnetic cannon leapt tens of meters in an instant. Boom, through the palms of those blacks. But in the next second, the pierced palms closed again and grabbed towards the crowd. Immediately afterwards, a larger electromagnetic cannon blasted out. Ah! Ziz, ziz. People in the crowd felt that their eyes were going to be blinded, and they were completely purified. The powerful electromagnetic cannon and the strong magnetic field even make people feel that every inch of the cell is moving towards it. Boom. The short skirt swayed violently, and dust rose from the venue. Only the lock of hair with the hairpin, and her unyielding eyes remained motionless. It's great, my sis. This is the second one. Shirai Sunspot shouted happily. But Misaka Makoto's face is not very good looking. I don't know if it is an illusion. This time it is a little harder to destroy than last time. Misaka Makoto's complexion changed. It made Hank's heart sink, always feeling that something was wrong. But it's too late to think about it now. 22 regional flags remained undestroyed. They have to hurry up. How long is this? The field of flags began to expand. Let's go to the third place next. Isn't it difficult to destroy these 24? The more relaxed Shirai Sunspot behaved. When the others saw the expression on Masaka Makoto's face, their hearts became more solemn. Negative emotions and worries from Hank plus 100. The other side. After communicating with Iron Man and others, Dad, accompanied by Tony and Hawkeye, found the flag closest to him, and first went to study how to remove these flags. But Uncle Long and True went to look for Xiao Yu, mainly because they were afraid that something might happen to her. On the first floor of a wool chain mall, because of the weekend, there are a lot of customers. So after the flag came down, there are too many people on the first floor. The corpses are already full. They are all in the posture of running away and lying down in the direction of the outside. And a smoke-like soul floated in the air, roaring hoarsely. That is their soul. Seeing this, Tony raised his hand to attack the flag. Dad. Let me blow it up. Don't be impulsive. If you attack rashly when you don't know the state, you will be injured. Hawkeye nodded aside. Be careful, it looks very difficult to deal with. Tony is now wearing his newly modified anti-ghost Mark 17. Confidence is soaring. And not long ago, he has been suffering under the magic power of the real person. He still doesn't believe it. He is a majestic scientific genius. Can you still be deflated every time? This time, he was prepared in advance. It's not just the arms that have been reworked. It also absorbed the characteristics of the electric current whip of the whip, creating a lightning 5 consecutive whip. At the same time, Iron Man's outer armor has an electric current protective layer, and the outer armor will always release high-voltage electric current. This is a complete anti-ghost mark armor, although the energy consumption will be greatly increased. But it has strong damage to ghosts. Look well, Ghost, your dad is coming. However, when he started the whip, he turned into Teacher Ma. The range of that flag suddenly expanded by half. ZZ. Black-Red's lightning electric current directly enveloped Tony, and Black's big hand instantly broke through the shell of the anti-ghost armor he was proud of, grabbed Tony's body, and separated his body and soul. What's going on? Isn't there a protective device? Why is it invalid? How is it possible? Tony was dumbfounded. This is the anti-ghost armor he developed, specially designed to deal with ghosts. Didn't Daddy say that lightning is the killer of ghosts? Voltage reduced. No protection possible. Warning, warning. Electrons have been hacked. Electrons have been hacked. Short circuit. External connection has been shorted. Listening to the voice of Jarvis, Tony bit the bullet and tried to control his body. But he found that he seemed to be an outsider, unable to control his body, let alone the mark armor. The feeling of the soul being pulled out of the body is like squeezing the last drop of blood out of the body. Pain, despair, shrouded in the heart, chill his soul. Like falling into an abyss. Fuck. Father, I was wrong. Father, help. Tony stretched out his hand and called to Dad for help in the air. Negative emotions from Tony Stark plus 500. I told you not to be impulsive. Wait a minute, I'll take some talismans. Watching my father slowly take out a few pieces of yellow paper. Tony felt the spirits tugging at his thighs all around him, and his heart went cold. Dad, come on, Dad. Help me. Seeing his father's slow movements, he really wanted to speed up his father. Slow down and I'm going to pull the pull into that flag. The ghost knows what kind of inhuman abuse they will suffer if they are pulled in. Hawkeye just pulled the arrows around the flag and plugged in the arrows that released the electric current. Trying to stop those ghosts from rushing towards Tony. Dad put the yellow paper on Tony's forehead. Putting a pose with both hands, the body suddenly exudes the light of gold. He took out the pufferfish, used the pufferfish as a sword, pointed it between his eyebrows, and pointed towards Tony. Ghosts, goblins, go away. Goblins, goblins, go away. A faint golden light shone, stinging the black's claws and loosening Tony's soul. There was joy on Tony's face. Freed. Positive emotions from Tony Stark plus 600. Ghosts, goblins, go away. Goblins, goblins, go away. At the moments Tony felt like his body had turned into a toilet bowl, and a powerful suction was acting on him. He was sucked into the body instantly. After slightly regaining control of his body, he immediately put the Jarvis on autopilot, leaving the enveloping range of the field. Tony, who was rescued by his father, was honest. It's just that he can't figure out what's wrong with his anti-ghost armor. Obviously lightning is the nemesis of Ghost. He also created a thunderbolt-like device for defense. Boom. A red monster with wings suddenly appeared. The moment the monster appeared, it smashed into the wall of the shopping mall. Finally, he slid on the soles of his feet and stopped at the railing on the second floor. The size of the monster is 3 meters high. Red all over. It has devil's horns on its head. There are 2 white wings on the back. Looking at Tony, with some anger. Be careful. That's a big tengu. The old man's face was solemn. It is recorded in the book that its strength is second only to the Ghost King and Dog God. Dad. Will he suck my soul? That's not true. Although he is a ghost in theory, he is actually a demon and will not harm your soul. Understood. Tony regained his confidence. If I can't beat those things, can I still beat you? Dad. Leave it to me. You can concentrate on studying that flag. Hawkeye next to him popped out a shackle and bounced to the 4th floor, and the shackle flew him to the 4th floor. A shooter needs a wide field of vision. Also, he felt that he might be involved with Tony. Tony raised his hand. The energy in the palm of his hand gathered, and the next second he blasted towards the big tengu's abdomen. Energy beam cannon. Otengu was hit by the light cannon and retreated a bit. Go on. 5 lightning strikes. The electrified whip lashed at Otengu's body. The whip under high pressure could easily cut through a car. But it only seriously injured the tengu, and didn't cut the tengu in half face to face. Even the big tengu couldn't hold the high voltage electric current, kneeling on the ground and twitching all over. Sure enough, it was just a wrong demonstration just now, and now it is the correct operation. Tony has been suffocated for so long, and now he can finally get his revenge. Tony, a technological genius, how can I be bullied by you all the time? Let you bully me. Resentment from Tony Stark +10 +10 +10 +10. Streams of beam cannons burst out and blasted towards the big tengu. Although Tengu was able to heal the torn wounds on his body, Tony's attacks were too intensive, and the high voltage electric current suppressed him and made him unable to move. Let it be beaten passively. No, Tony, get out of here, the flag is stronger again. Enhanced? Tony wanted to pull out the whip for the first time. But the next second Red's big tengu grabbed his whip. Those eyes were fierce and full of hostility. Very brutal. Hatred. The field of the banner expanded again, enveloping the red tengu. The big tengu grabbed a soul and bit it down. One mouthful after another, crushed, chewed. It's like eating meat. A soul was chewed and swallowed by him. The soul-swallowing Otengu began to regain its strength. Scarlet eyes, angry wrinkled nose. Every inch of skin exudes mania from the inside out. Woo woo woo. Oops, the big tengu grabbed Tony's whip and pulled it suddenly. Negative emotions from Tony Stark +1000, bang. Under the effect of inertia, the fists of Datengu and Datengu collided firmly. Bang. 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 Big Tengu picks up Tony like Hulk picks up Thor. He fell heavily on the ground several times. Hawkeye's delayed concussion arrow just hit Otengu's head. Beep beep. Boom. The delayed concussion exploded, hitting the big Tengu staggeringly. The angry big Tengu threw Tony towards the outside of the mall, and then aimed at Hawkeye. The armor on Tony's chest was shattered, and the armor on his face was even more shattered. Drowsy eyes. In this case of possible concussion, Tony felt as if he had met his grandma, when he flew out. At the brightly lit gate that was broken by the big Tengu, a figure became clearer and clearer, more and more. The savior is here? Positive emotions from Tony Stark +100. Green skin. Wait, it's Green's, Hulk. However, after he saw Hulk in an angry state. Negative emotions from Tony Stark +100, boom. Hulk didn't catch him at all, and he flew out anyway. For Hulk in this state, not giving him a direct slap is considered kind. Hulk's target was on Red's big Tengu, over the past few months. Hulk has been evading the SHIELD military in the Abomination's pursuit. Hiding and hiding. I heard that there is a magic in New York that allows him to control his anger, so he came. It's just that as soon as he arrived in New York, before he had time to find the person who told him that New York had magic, a flag was planted in front of him. Then, the strength of the flag suddenly increased. From the sucked blood of those men, a red titan was born, about his size. As soon as the red titan showed up, he started killing people and causing chaos. Hulk couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't control the anger in his heart, so he turned into Green Hulk and scuffled with the opponent. Fortunately, the area where the two fought was not within Shao-Chi's range, and those ghosts didn't attack him. So the two fought from the previous flag to this shopping mall. The younger brothers summoned by Tengu were all killed by Hulk. The streets along the way were destroyed in ruins. The buffer zone has really become a buffer point for war. Papa exited the confines of the mall. Tony, are you okay? Iron Man was a bit miserable, his face was bruised and swollen by the big Tengu, and his arm was broken. Fortunately, Dad, he is still alive so far. Tony was speechless. Why has he been beaten these days? Listen, Tony, I see why the flag keeps expanding its territory, and you immediately stop others from destroying the flag. This kind of banner is a kind of formation. If you want to destroy it, you must destroy it at the same time. Otherwise, every time you destroy one, it will increase the strength of the other banners. If there is one left in the end, then with our ability, basically there is no way to smash the flag. During the conversation, the strength of the flag has once again grown. Strands of black lightning burst out within it. In the sky, the inverted vortex gradually became clear. Hawkeye grabbed the shackle and broke through the fourth-floor window. Swing to the side of the two. And Hulk and Otengu fought from inside the mall, like rampaging tanks, and both sides punched to the flesh. The battle was at a stalemate. But Daddy, how to dismantle it? There are two methods of demolition. One is violent demolition, which directly destroys the flag and the surrounding environment, and the other is to use formations to destroy it. But the second method is handed over to my upcoming brothers. You still use the first one way. Tony nodded. Jarvis, contact shield and military, evacuate as soon as possible. If it is violently removed, that's really nothing. After all, the military is best at violent demolition. On the other side, shield and the military received Tony's message. Positive emotions from shield. +2 +4 +1 +15 +2 +. Negative emotions from shield. +5. Positive emotions from the military. +2 +1.5 +3 +1.4 +. Positive emotions from the military. +2000.